The Mind of Mansion is live with Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm. Andrew, what's happening, baby?
What's up, dude? I feel like I've been talking to you every week now that you're popping on the old Sirius XM to share the Podfather's silky tones with the nation. So it's good that we're getting a few more chances to talk. But this is the format I like best.
I
Getting on
like hanging
here.
out, man. I like hanging out. Hanging out, you and Howard, Sirius
Oh yeah.
XM. When are you guys on Sirius XM?
So we're on it. He's on. We have the show every night. I'm on Thursdays and Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m. Then during the season, we're on 10 to 11 a.m. That show is obviously just answering questions though, because it goes on Sunday morning. It gets a little spicy. But this is the kind of show I like, where we get to talk about whatever we want. I blocked off once you reached out. I blocked off 3 hours because you never know with Mr. Matt Kelly. I know. I don't. I just never know with the shows with you. So I got time. I got time to chat. So this is good stuff.
Yeah, you're my man. Love hanging out. Also, Howard, man. Howard's a cool cat.
He rules, man. Nothing
Yeah,
rattles
Billy
Howard
told
Bender.
me. He's like, this Howard Bender, man. He's great. Rotobuzz guy. At Rotobuzz guy on Twitter. And you are what on Twitter?
Coop A Fiasco with the letter A in there. So
Coop A Fiasco, Twitter X, connect with Andrew and friends. Yeah, that's a great show. It's one of my favorite shows on Sirius. You guys in Roster Watch. That's for my money, man. And Alan on RotoWire.
That's the thing. They got, Alan and Jim are great. They got some great shows on there. The Roster Watch guys crack me up too, dude.
Yeah, Roster Watch is very entertaining, very informative.
Name and record. That cracks me up. State your team name and record when somebody calls in.
And they're like, people, they're like, they knew it's coming, but they're not ready.
That's what I'm saying. It's the best when it's a first time caller, because the regulars, they know. The first time callers are like, you get one. They've been thinking about what they're going to say the whole time, and then somebody just grabs you and they shake you and they're like, "What's the name of your fantasy team?" Like it kills me, man.
So, what are you up to beyond appearing on the radio? What are you working on at Fantasy Alarm? What kind of content you putting out there?
Yeah, so my schedule, it's pretty set in stone these days. We do the right after the draft, I do my rookie rankings. If you haven't done your Dynasty draft yet, maybe it's a little late, but some people still haven't done them. Those rankings are up. And then I immediately get in and do the best ball rankings, do all that. Now I'm working on the draft guide. I have some things that go in the draft guide that I use behind the scenes to help me do my rankings. I got this thing called the target totem pole. I've been doing these myself for a long time, and I showed Howard, and he was like, dude, just put those in the draft guide so people can have them. I was like, okay. Yeah, I had all this content just on my computer for nobody but me. So now we put that in the draft guide. A target totem pole, which kind of color codes how we think the target distributions are going to go for each team. I do this thing called the running back questionnaire that kind of breaks down the running back position into the different parts of the role: first down, third down, 2-minute drill, goal line. And we kind of go through and say, okay, who do we think is going to get this job? If there's a pass interference in the end zone, who are they going to send down to punch it in, right? So we build that all out, and now I share all that, and we're working on all that right now. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's going to be available for everybody coming up next month.
Well, that's what Player Profiler is, right?
I love Player Profiler.
All Player Profiler is that was my tool I used to help me podcast.
Yep.
So I created a tool to help me podcast so I could look up guys and I could just throw stats out there on the fly during a show. Didn't have to have a spreadsheet in front of me. I wanted to build. It was a pretty bougie thing to do, to have a website built for you to help you podcast. But then at some point I was like, well, I should probably just make this public. Make sure we have enough servers or whatever, so that it doesn't crash. And then of course it crashed because then it got really popular. And then I had to start investing in it, and I was like, oh my God, this thing's a money pit. And then we started to actually get people subscribing to the premium content. And then so it actually became sustainable. So that's great. So if you like Player Profiler and you want to make sure that it is sustained for the long run, you should go subscribe to the all-in package at Player Profiler. The code is Podfather. You get $25 off. $25 off Player Profiler, all the premium content, the draft kit, the rankings, the DFS Dominator, the Dynasty Deluxe package. All of it is there for you. $25 off with code Podfather. And that is what sustains Player Profiler. If people don't subscribe, then Player Profiler goes away. That's how it works. That's the bottom line. And the same is true with Fantasy Alarm. You should subscribe to Fantasy Alarm if you like their content and you enjoy it. That's the way that the trains run on time in this business.
And it's funny, people don't realize that, like, when you're doing content and doing the stuff we do, I work at Fantasy Alarm, but I have a subscription to Player Profiler. I have a subscription to Fantasy Points Data Suite. Like, there's different pieces of information and different angles and things that you got to get from everywhere. I mean, just right off the bat, Player Profiler, if you just go to like the Dynasty Rankings tab, there's no other place that really has an easy way to just go and see every wide receiver and their exact age they are right now. Like, anytime I'm like, how old is this guy? I go to Player Profiler, right? Anytime I want to see what 40 time the guy ran, Player Profiler. Like, there's certain sites that just have easy access to things, just like with Fantasy Alarm, that like most of my stats I just get from Fantasy Alarm, but like, you got to have these things in your back pocket where it's like, oh, where's an easy way to look that up? Boom, Player Profiler. So that, if you want to take this seriously, which if you're watching this show, you do, you gotta get access to the tools you need to dominate.
And we have a lot of questions today. We have 10 burning questions later in the show. So we are, by popular demand, we are bringing back 10 burning questions. And people also want to make sure that I do a proper introduction to you. I mean, I think that this is well-deserved. Also, FastDraft, I will say, was basically, a project where I said to myself, how do I get all my friends that used to play fantasy that don't play fantasy anymore? How can I get them back into it? FastDraft's the way. It's the way back in. Welcome to the Mind of Mansion program. A tight end savant and an effervescent personality on Sirius XM. He is the star analyst over there at Fantasy Alarm. Here with me today it is Andrew
Never changed, dude.
Talk to me.
Never changed, Matt Kelly. You're the best in the biz, bro. I'm fired up. I got goosebumps, man. I'm tingling. Let's go. Let's talk some ball.
Let's go. I gotta. Let's talk about a great team in the NFL. Let's talk about a team that everyone's really excited about. The Jets.
That's where you're gonna start me off, dude. Really, you come in with this great intro, fired up. I'm a Boston guy. You see the Tom Brady behind me on the wall, and you say, let's talk Jets. Okay, you build them up, and then you bring them back down to earth. I get it. Let's go Jets football.
Nobody wants these guys, right? Nobody wants these guys. All Garrett Wilson does is soak up 150 targets a season, and yet it seems everyone's looking for excuses to draft somebody else at ADP. Same thing with Breece Hall. You got Achans going a round and a half around ahead of him for no reason, just because of the Jets stench. And they did decide, hey, we're gonna bring back the tush push for one more year. It was off, then it was on, then it was off, then it was on. Now they're saying Justin Fields is going to run the tush push. We're going to see how that goes. That'll be interesting. I want to talk about this team because I think there is opportunity because it's so consolidated there, because they didn't go out and bring in another receiver, because they don't really have a tight end that anyone gives a shit about. It makes for a very easy case to be made for some of their weapons, including Justin Fields. I think I'm very interested. I want to hear your take on the Jets.
So here's the thing with the Jets. Like, and again, I give you credit on this because you're one of those guys that, and people, what's funny? People will say, oh, I've heard them say like Matt Kelly flip-flops on guys, which if they actually listen, you don't. Last year, I saw it on your timeline yesterday. Somebody said that. And you don't flip-flop. What you do is you go for the values when they're there. So last year, you liked Bijan Robinson more than Breece Hall, right? That's true.
I couldn't draft Breece Hall last year. First
round. That's what I'm saying. So last year you liked Bijan Robinson more than Breece Hall, so you weren't taking Breece Hall. And this year, with the ADP down where it is, in like the fourth round at times, now you're in. And it's as simple as that.
People were drafting him like 2 overall last year. Now he's in the third round and they hate him.
Yeah. Well, people hear those snippets.
Nothing's changed except the
quarterback is going to
actually make his life easier.
Right. All they remember is Matt Kelly doesn't like Brees Hall. And then when you do, then they're like, oh, let's flip it. It's like people need to actually get plugged in and stay plugged in. Okay. So Brees Hall, I'm in on. The problem that you run into here with Justin Fields is when you go to the sports books. And again, it's not the end all be all, but they can give us a decent guide, right? Every quarterback that has lines up there right now is over 3,000 yards passing, except Justin Fields. Right, like even Cam Ward and Bryce Young are set at over 3,000. Justin Fields, MGM Sportsbook has him at 2,450 yards passing as the over/under and 14 and a half touchdown passes. That's them projecting him to fail. I mean, like, there's no other way to say it. Like, I'm willing to draft him at ADP just to get some exposure to him in best ball, but I do worry about his ability to distribute the ball at a high level. It has to be highly consolidated, but I mean, he was able to get the ball to DJ Moore. So I think Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall are fine at ADP. And if you're taking a late stab, maybe you throw something at Mason Taylor just because I don't like Alan Lazard. I don't like Josh Reynolds. But just keep in mind with Mason Taylor that at LSU, he played in line for 70% of his snaps. He blocked on 16% of his pass plays. Sometimes those guys come to the NFL and they're used a little more to block than they are to catch passes. Sometimes it's right away. They come in, it's like Dallas Goedert or Martellus Bennett, and they're blocking for the most part. And then they grow into a pass catcher. Sometimes it's just, Drew Sample, Darnell Washington getting drafted on day 2, and then they just block for their entire career and they become millionaires blocking. So you got to be careful with that. But I'm with you. I think Brees Hall is a guy I'm drafting all over the place. I am a little worried about Garrett Wilson, though, with Justin Fields. If they say he's going to throw for 2,500 yards, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He threw for 2,500 yards in 2023 in 13 games.
Yeah.
That's a 3,000-plus yard season in 17 games. So now they're saying that he's not going to play 17 games is really what they're saying. Now, last year he played in 10 games, only 1,100 yards. I know that if you extrapolate, okay, that's not good, right? But also the completion percentage was up. The yards per attempt was the same. So
I feel better when we go into these situations when there's a potential failed project, when the backup quarterback is somebody that slings it. Like you look at Joe Flacco and his high tempo offense, or you look at now the situation with the Colts, where it's like Anthony Richardson, if he fails, Daniel Jones is the failsafe. I would have loved if the Jets were able to sign like a Jameis Winston. Then I would be in, because it's like, oh, if Justin Fields fails, we'll just bring in the gunslinger and he'll throw 25 touchdowns and 25 picks, and that'll be good, right? But they have Tyrod Taylor. That's the that's the curveball. Is that you bring in a guy that does something, I mean, fairly similar, and there's not a lot of upside there. Like if they had Kirk Cousins there or something like that, but they already tried that with Aaron Rodgers. I doubt they would ever try to do that. I think they want to go a different direction.
I mean, the case I'm making is look at this. Look at these wide receivers. I mean, come on. Yikes. Man. What are we talking about?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's one dog at the top.
I mean, and Josh Reynolds. What are we talking about? Malachi Corley? Really? Look at these tight ends. Look at these tight ends. Stone Smart.
That's my guy, dude.
I know it's your guy, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's not gonna get 125 targets. He's not gonna get 100. That's the thing, is that it really is gonna be a 3-man show. So it's just a matter of, can Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson get on the same page, and and
is there another team in the NFL that only has 2 legitimate weapons that the quarterback can even use that are proven?
It's not like that. It's not like where the next best guy is Alan Lazard. I guess, the Patriots kind of have, like, if some people don't like Stephon Diggs, you could say they have none. But yeah, there's not really a lot of
Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs. I think that's okay. That's 2.
Hunter Henry is more of a threat than any tight end on this team.
Right, Hunter Henry, what I'm saying. So they have Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs. This team has Wilson and Brees Hall. Okay, so there might be 1 or 2 teams out there, maybe another couple teams, if we broke them all down, where you could say, okay, there's really 2 guys here. Okay, all right. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. That's fairly consolidated. We like that.
James Conner too, though. I guess the Panthers, right, with Ted McMillan.
Ted McMillan and Ted McMillan and the undrafted superstar that I do like. Okay, we should look
That
this up. Let's pull this up while we're
that's
at it. We should pull up the Carolina Panthers wide receivers
pull them up. Yeah, because I mean,
because
here's the thing.
I do very much like Jalen Coker a lot. So I
Right.
would
Yeah.
consider him. I would actually put him on the list of players that have proven that they can produce and be efficient, and that I'm excited about, but not league it.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
Thielen's
with
going to be like 33 years old, lots of lower body injuries, and they're
quietly down the stretch last year, Adam Thielen finished it from when he returned from the hamstring injury. He was like the wide receiver 13 in
I know,
PPR.
but
It's
come on,
just
man.
I know. Xavier Leggett, I did a full study on him over at Fantasy Alarm. If you just type in Fantasy Alarm Xavier Leggett, what I did is I want to know what's going on with this guy. So I pulled up all the stats in the article from Player Profiler, from Fantasy Points Data Suite, from Pro Football Focus. And I just took all the clips. I watched all 500 routes or whatever, and I turned them into GIFs, right? And there's one thing Xavier Leggett was doing that I'm not sure if he can correct. It's something that guys like Preston Williams used to do, and Brandon LaFell, which is every time the ball comes to him, Matt, he jumps. I don't know why. I don't know what, like where that got cooked into his profile. So when he does need to jump, he actually does jump and make great catches, but then he'll be throwing a slant and he'll jump, or he'll be throwing like a comeback and he'll jump. And the thing with that is you're making it more complicated on yourself, more moving parts in terms of catching the football, which is why he had a bunch of drops. But the real killer is when you jump like that, zero yak. He was outside the top 200 players in yak per route run because he would jump and then you can't catch the ball in stride and break off those big plays. So the wide receiver coach needs to sit him down and be like, you're doing this part of what you do is completely wrong. And if you don't figure that out, you're going to be out of the league, because you can't be operating like that. You have to be able to catch the ball in stride and turn a slant where you're open into a giant play. That's the difference between guys like even AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, is that AJ Brown can do that. DK Metcalf kind of doesn't. Like if Xavier Leggett doesn't figure that out, he's going to get replaced. And they already went out and drafted a wide receiver in the first round. So they're already telling him, hey, the window is right now.
I don't think Tet McMillan has that hole in his game. I've never seen Deebo Samuel jump. I don't even know what it looks like.
No, he gets lower to the ground as he moves, right? It's like he's like a bowling ball, man. So it is funny that some of these guys do that. Go back, watch Preston Williams. He just it was a huge flaw in his game, and he's just not sustainable to do that. He was jumping like some of these plays for Leggett, he almost jumped out of bounds because on plays that are just like in his hands, because he just feels like he has to be doing something when the ball comes. I don't know. It's pretty rough.
Well, the team doesn't think that it's fixable because they drafted McMillan.
I worry about it. It.
So I think that it's the Coker and McMillan show longer term in Carolina. But this is why I like McMillan and Coker. This is why I like Wilson and Breece Hall. Like, this is why I'm fine with Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry as a best ball third tight end doesn't get any better because you're locking in opportunity.
I took a team last year to the final day of Best Ball Mania, finished 226 out of 670,000 people. My tight ends were Hunter Henry and Pat Frymouth.
That's it. That's all you just drafted those two guys. You
just got to piece it together. Actually, I drafted three guys. The third guy was Greg Dulcich, who did nothing. So we don't mention that part of it.
But that's okay. But that's the beauty of if you go three tight ends, you can do that. You can take a chance on a guy.
Right.
But the two other tight ends, you really need to know they're going to have primary pass-catching roles as the tight end on their team.
And through last year, like at the end of the day, Hunter Henry got 97 targets. Both the guys technically finished as tight end ones in fantasy. And between the two, the way the schedule matched up, they only had 1 week of the year where my combination didn't give me 5 points on underdog, which is half PPR, and it was the first week of the season. From the first week of the season, I got 4.7 points. Every other week, I got at least 5 out of those guys. A lot of times 10, 12, 13, 14. And then you know what? You can survive on that. So, lean into upside elsewhere and survive at other positions. Sometimes that's the way to rock. And guys like Hunter Henry, no problem with him.
Well, that's my favorite way to rock at tight end. What about Jatavian Sanders?
So Jatavian Sanders is best comparable player in my. Luke Musgrave's a good comp too. Obviously he hasn't panned out, but Hunter Henry is a good comp for him because these guys are Hunter Henry and the upside comp for JT Sanders are Hunter Henry and Zach Ertz for me because they do everything well in terms of route running. They have good hands. They're good in space, but they don't have that like next level breakaway speed. And Sanders is actually a little slightly faster than Ertz and Hunter Henry, but this is a player. This player I like a lot. And if you like Harold Fannin, like a lot of people like him coming in, you should like Jatavian Sanders because I think those guys also have very similar profiles. The problem for Sanders is that they liked rotating him with Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas. Now Ian Thomas is gone, but Tommy Tremble's back. The games that Tommy Tremble missed, JT Sanders was going out and getting 6, 7, 8 targets. We were using him in DFS. He was free. Like this is a guy where if you're betting on guys to fail, like if you don't like Coker, you don't like Leggett, you don't like Thielen, why not lean into it? Because if the ball is spread out, this is a theory we've been using for a long time. If the ball is spread out and everyone gets the same number of targets, the tight end targets are more valuable due to positional scarcity. It's as simple as that. The 90 targets for each player is far more valuable. You can be a top 5 tight end in fantasy football with 90 targets. You either need 90 targets or you need 10 plus touchdowns. Every top 5 tight end going back to Randy McMichael in 2003 has gotten either 90 targets or 10 plus touchdowns. Yeah, how's that for a stat, Matt? So you need one or the other. That's what you got to tell yourself. And we don't bank on the touchdowns because it's so hard to say, hey, this guy's going to do that, right? I guess with Mark Andrews, you could do it, but like we don't like doing that. So you need to tell yourself, you need to paint a picture. How does my guy get the ball 90 times or get thrown the ball 90 times? What you need.
How about a team that doesn't have the greatest defense? They're going to be playing from behind, going to be throwing a lot. You get a pocket passer who's growing, getting better, but not great. I mean, it's perfect. 77% catch rate for Jatavian Sanders. The guy was catching the football. There was some rapport there. Good target accuracy from Bryce Young to Jatavian Sanders. He's interesting. I like these pass catchers, Carolina pass catchers. Bad team that's going to be in a lot of garbage time. I want McMillan. I want Coker. I want Sanders. I'm not here for like a dusty Thielen season where he doesn't even finish the season. And, he plays a handful of games and it's just clearly over. The cliff year, you could sniff it out with a lot of these guys. I'm not going to.
I saw an interview with him and he looked sad. They asked him, they were like, what do you think? And he's like, I know it's winding down. I'm going to play one more or whatever. It's like, do you really want, is that the guy you want showing up to work? Like you want guys showing up that are like, let's rock and roll. Like I would feel the best I've ever felt. It's like, he was literally like, I know it's coming to an end here, but let's see what happens. It's like,
you don't need it. Guy. You don't need it. You have a similar floor with Coker with a much more upside is the way I see it. And so I don't see any reason. Thielen is going to be 35. He's going to be 35 during the season.
Right. And he we talked about it the other day that he started late, so maybe not as much tread, but there's clearly tread now. That hamstring injury he had last year, he almost had to do surgery. Like he was this close to having season-ending surgery from a hamstring injury. And, you start looking at it. Look at that. Ankle issues, hamstring issues. Same thing that's going on with Cooper Kupp. Unfortunately, Cooper Kupp had the high ankle sprain. He had the tightrope surgery. Then he had the hamstring issue. Then last year, he hurts the same ankle that he had the tightrope surgery on. And the Rams just said, hey, you know what? We can't bet on you to stay healthy. That's why they moved on. The Seahawks are going to bet on him to stay healthy, which, it's possible that he stays healthy and has a bounce back year. I'm throwing him in there a little bit, but the Rams
Cooper Kupp is a completely different situation. Cooper Kupp is many years younger. And if he just puts together, let's say, 8 to 10 games where he's healthy, he can do something like what Adam Thielen has given us in recent years, where it's these spurts, it's these partial seasons where you look back and like, oh my God, this guy was a real asset. That's very much a reason to draft Cooper Kupp, but I am done. We're talking about Adam Thielen has had 2 hamstring injuries that cost him 5 or more games.
Right. That's serious.
Those hamstrings are cooked. His hamstrings are cooked. They're done.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's why you got to lean on the other assets because ball's going to have to go somewhere. I just wish that Tommy Tremble wasn't back. I was probably the only person in the world sitting here waiting to see what would happen with that. And then when he was a free agent, they brought him back. I was just like, it was one of those just shut my laptop, go outside days for me, because I'm rooting for these guys, man. I'm rooting for my guys.
Sanders just has a year under his belt. He's going to be fine. Sanders is going to
I think so
grow.
too.
His role is going to grow. Don't worry about it. What an easy bet that Sanders is going to grow his role and he'll be even more usable this year.
That's a guy I'm grabbing in Dynasty. Those are the type guys I go for because you can get them for nothing, and people will start cutting. If they don't do anything for a year or two, people will just start cutting their tight ends. People will start. I saw Trey McBride get really cut in a league that I put a bid on him and didn't get him his rookie year. Second round pick, just behind Zach Ertz. The kid was just like, you know what, this guy's not doing anything. He can't beat out Zach Ertz. I'm done. And you see that with guys like Ben Sennett behind Zach Ertz now. You see it with guys like Chigakonkwo. Like, I'm keeping tabs on the guys that I think have the skill set and just need the right window of opportunity. And I think some of these guys, that window could be coming quick.
Chig is interesting. Chig remains interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about another team that I'm heavily invested in, the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's consolidation of opportunity there, but it's more due to the formations than the personnel. Right? So this is one of those things where I don't know, maybe less than 10 teams that heavily use the fullback at this point, but identifying who those teams are, all those teams have target consolidation of some kind. And I know you pay close attention to fullback usage. So let's just start by talking about why that matters. What teams do you see it mattering most for?
Yeah, I mean, I always pay attention to the scheme and the personnel groupings, because when we first started playing this, Matt, you and I, like back in early 2000s, every team played it straight. And what I mean by that is you had a starting running back, Priest Holmes, 400 touches. When he got hurt, Larry Johnson got 400 touches, right? You had your split end. He was your biggest and best wide receiver. He went up against the best cornerback on the other team, and that was that. You had an inline tight end that could block. Some of them could catch, but that was just the way it went. And then as the game developed, New England started splitting the backfield, and Chan Gailey started using big slot like Tony Gonzalez and Eric Decker in the slot. And then, Sean Payton, of course, is using his running back to catch passes, and he's the Joker role, and he's got the Joker tight ends and stuff. And now you see a shift in what guys are the good guys and what roles are the best, right? Like now the best role is probably that slot flanker role, right? Where you play slot in 2 wide receiver sets, move outside for 3 wide receiver sets. Cooper Kupp's all-time great season, CeeDee Lamb's, Jamar Chase does it. Like, that's what we're looking for. And if you can't have just pure talented guys for high consolidation, the best way to get consolidation is through the formats and the personnel. You want as many guys on the field soaking up snaps that are not getting targets. Fullbacks, right? Guys like, so we'll talk to 49ers. Kyle Juszczyk, some of these games he plays like 40% of the snaps, 50% of the snaps, right? And when he goes out there, you're not taking out George Kittle. You're not taking out Christian McCaffrey. You're taking out one of the wide receivers. And that's why they rarely ever have 3 wide receivers at the same time that are all doing something. Same thing with the Dolphins, maybe even the easier example, the Dolphins with Alec Ingold, and they use these blocking tight ends, and it's really just Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith and the running backs, and Braxton Berrios doing nothing. I think the guy that had the 5th most targets on the team last year was Julian Hill after the running backs and Tyreek and Waddle. And, right? It's like, so you got these guys, and the 49ers love doing it. They used Charlie Warner for years as a blocking tight end. One year, Charlie Warner and Kyle Juszczyk, Matt, 2 years ago, combined for over 800 snaps, and they combined for 20 targets. That is why that's how you can get that super high consolidation among the 2 wide receivers, the tight end and the running back. And they just went out and paid Luke Farrell an ungodly amount of money because they say this guy is a very prolific part of our offense, the extra tackle blocking tight end. And the more that we get, the more consolidation we're going to get among Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and then whichever 2 wide receivers are in the game. And that's where the rub is this year, because Brandon Ayuk's going to come back at some point. So the bet you're making between people keep coming to, they're like, who do you think is more talented? Between Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall? And at the end of the day, it's not the only question you should be asking is when they run 2 wide receiver sets down the stretch, who are those 2 wide receivers going to be? And one's going to be Brandon Ayuk, and I think the other is going to be Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, it's Juwan Jennings.
Right.
This is the case against Ricky Pearsall. I love Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall is an exciting player. He's really athletic, and he looked the part of an NFL wide receiver, a playmaking NFL wide receiver at the end of last season. But structurally, there is this issue where basically it's going to be hard in two receiver sets for he and Ayuk to see the field. Right. Not only is Juwan Jennings going to be in there over Pearsall, Juwan Jennings is going to be in there over Ayuk. I mean, this is the other thing. Like, I think Ayuk is a good player, but he is not a coaching favorite. Juwan Jennings is. Right? And Juwan Jennings is the best blocker. Juwan Jennings has what Juszczyk has. He also has what Kittle has. He has all the things that these guys, that he's a red zone weapon. So Ayuk and Pearsall play the same position. And in three receiver sets, it all works because they can all get out there. But it's going to be one or the other in two receiver sets, which makes Jennings just such a smash.
Yeah,
right. I could see being like very, very overweight on Jennings and then being sort of just slightly overweight on Ayuk and Pearsall just because I want to be massively overweight on this team. This team is set up for success. They've extended Brock Purdy. Their defense is aging, and they're just trying to rebuild it on the fly. This is probably going to be the best year for their offense because it's going to be the worst year of their defense. They're going to start rebuilding it, retooling it. Next year might be better, and then better the next year. They're going to bring this defense back from the dead. But this is the year that it gets hollowed out, and they're going to have to throw to be competitive, and you just get ready, man. Get ready for 30 points. And yeah, there's certainly going to be some McCaffrey runs in there, no question, but it's going to be mostly on the back of Purdy. Purdy dumping it off to McCaffrey, Purdy throwing it down the seam to Kittle, and Purdy finding Jennings on the outside. I don't know when Ayuk's going to come back, but Ayuk has to rehab this thing. He's not going to be able to participate in anything in the summer. It's hard for me to be super excited about Ayuk. It's hard for me to be as excited as I want to be with Pearsall. I mean, I really want to be excited about Pearsall. It's not possible. Knowing what we know, it's just not possible because this is not the Rams. This is this is a very different offense.
I like him in Dynasty because I think at some point he will be one of the two guys. But for this year, I just worry about that. And you're right. I mean, there is a case where, what if Ayuk comes back and he doesn't come back till November? And then they got to ramp him up like TJ Hawkinson last year had to be ramped up. He was kind of on a part-time snap basis. Maybe if that's the case, then Ayuk does get eased back in a little bit and you get a few more Pearsall weeks. But the way I look at it is I think Jennings is one of the two guys no matter what. So that's why for me, I'm kind of out on Pearsall and I'm kind of to some degree out on Ayuk too. Especially when you look at in the chat, I saw Mile High Luke here. He was talking about the big gorilla right on FFPC. Well, something like that, the playoffs technically start like week 12 because they narrow it down to 4 teams and then it goes down to 2. So you're drafting Brandon Ayuk. He might never crack your lineup at all because you could get eliminated, be one of the 8 teams that gets eliminated at week 12. He might never actually be a useful player for you, and you have to draft him at a spot where you're still drafting useful players. So you got to be very careful about the formats and stuff with these guys as well. If you got a deep dynasty league, yeah, of course you want to hang on to Pearsall and Ayuk because you're just setting weekly lineups from your stable of stars. In best ball and some of these the short bench redraft leagues, you can't afford to be holding on to guys that are either going to come back super late or are going to end up being a part-time player when it matters most, right? During playoffs.
Well, I mean, I think there's a case to draft all these guys in best ball. The case for Pearsall is if there's an injury, right? So
in the early weeks,
Pearsall he'll produce in the early weeks. And then if there's an injury, and there always is an injury, every team has injuries at wide receiver, right? So let's just say either Ayuk suffers a setback or Jennings has a high ankle sprain, something happens, right? Now Pearsall basically has a full-time role the full season, and you're printing money there. Also, the way these best ball formats are, you're vastly more rewarded for getting production late in the season, which is when Ayuk is supposed to be back and at 100%. So if you can sneak Ayuk through on Underdog, for example, then that's strategically beneficial. And having Jennings for the full season on a prolific offense is just an awesome play at his ADP. His ADP is silly right now. So I like all these guys. I think you should be overweight on all these guys because this is one of the offenses to target, and none of these wide receivers are expensive. So, I mean, Jennings is going in like the 7th round. So that's maybe 6th round. So, it just depends on, where I've seen him go. But, yeah, I think that's the move. I think you want some exposure to these guys. I mean, pretty much try to finish every best ball draft that you do with at least one 49er, maybe just a goal. On FastDraft is different, though. FastDraft is total points. So the case for Ayuk really goes to 0. Whenever someone drafts Ayuk on FastDraft, I'm like, that is unlikely to work out because you don't get the reward for having a guy in the playoffs where the games matter a lot more in weeks 15, 16, 17. It's just total points. So whatever a guy does in week 1 is the same weight as what a guy does in week 16. So the case for Ayuk really fades away. But there's a very strong case for Pearsall in round 6 of the FastDraft Flex 4 game. And there's a very strong case for Juwan Jennings in round 6. The problem is round 6 is just such a great round on FastDraft. There's so many great options from Travion Henderson. Like there's these sick upside options at running back, but there's also a bunch of wide receivers that are great value options from Calvin Ridley to Cortland Sutton. There's just a lot. There's a lot. So it's as long as you're getting some exposure to these types of guys, especially the guys that are greatly underowned, like a Juwan Jennings. I mean, Juwan Jennings is 13.4% owned on FastDraft right now, and Pearsall is 20% owned. But a guy I like even more than these guys because he's a running back and he's teed up for a great season is this guy. This is my guy in the 6th round. Oh, but this is another flip-flop of mine, right? Oh, but I thought the Podfather hated Brian Robinson. Not this year, right? Now that we know what this offense is, now that we know they didn't draft a running back, everyone had all this mock draft linkage for top running backs to go to the Commanders, right? This was the thought. They were going to draft it. So many people had Travion Henderson mocked to Washington. I mean, made a lot of sense. Very sexy. Very sexy. Can you imagine Brian Robinson, Travion Henderson with Jaden Daniels? I mean, I understand why it's this fantasy that you would have as a mock drafter, but that's not what fucking happened, man. They waited until the 7th round, and I still like that guy too.
Right. But the RB coach, the people wanted it because the RB coach is Anthony Lynn, and everyone knows what he did with Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler with the Chargers, and as a fan of the team, you want your guys to have the weapons to do what they do. They didn't give it to him. So it's once again Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. And Austin Eckler, he's really just he's not a threat to any of the things that Brian Robinson does.
Now, he is very much on the Adam Thielen trajectory, but at running back, your cliff year is age 29, 30. At wide receiver, your cliff year is 33, 34, 35. If not sooner, if you're a bigger player. Like if you're Adam Thielen's profile. If you're a more explosive player, a bigger, more explosive player like, Mike Evans.
Right.
This is where, right, we're trying to sniff out a cliff year. Mike Evans, there's a real risk there.
You don't think they're going to...
But Austin Eckler, I think that's much easier projected cliff year than even Mike Evans.
You don't think they're going to drag Mike Evans to 1,000 yards and force him the targets and then have a big celebration when he gets it?
Oh, they will. Right. But you didn't draft Mike Evans for 1,001 yards.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, there's definitely a group. I wouldn't put Mike Evans in the group with Thielen and Eckler, of course.
No. I'm not saying there is. I'm not saying there are guys where we can see it coming a mile away, and then there are guys that are at risk. There's a big
group
difference.
Is like, I would say that group is like the happy to be here group.
Yeah,
Like
they're
just
happy to be here. We know
happy to be
it's
around.
over. They're sailing into the sunset. We all know it, and we're staying away from Eckler. We're staying away from Thielen. But there's also guys that you just have to know that this is the time. Historically, when we look at players with this profile, 6'4", 230, the idea that they are going to continue to be productive, some of these cliffs are legit cliffs. They're not like a rolling hill, right? Oh,
Right.
the production's going to roll down slowly. No, it is a cliff. They call it a cliff year for a reason because it's Randy Moss going to Tennessee.
Yeah, the guys that rely on size and the guys that rely on speed, those guys are the ones that fall off the hardest. The guys that rely on route running and possession catching and body positioning, those are the guys that can live and play a long time. Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, even though DeAndre Hopkins has fallen off, but he's that type of player, like the game where you can age gracefully into the slot using your positioning and your hands and your route running. Those are the guys that you can kind of trust. Steve Smith, right? He actually went from a speedster to that type of player, but like if you don't have that in your bag, it's really tough to keep playing football at 34, 35.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, man.
Yeah, even him, I mean, like even him falling off, but
that was crazy. That happened very fast for DeAndre Hopkins.
Scary, man. It almost, the more I think about it, like it almost makes you wish certain guys did just retire. Like because we look at Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson and they never fell off and they're just all-time legends. Like people forget, dude, Zeke Elliott, Melvin Gordon, these guys were so good. These guys are so good at football. And Zeke Elliott, for like his time period that he played, more yards from scrimmage than like anybody. But because of the way it ended, everyone's like, oh, that guy stinks. Like it does suck that happens like that, but it's like people forget how ridiculous, like Melvin Gordon was awesome. He was awesome, but it just he hit the cliff earlier than everybody else. And now people don't remember that. It really, being a running back is the worst.
Yeah, it's tough. But Brian Robinson.
You
want Brian Robinson. He's only 20% owned on FastDraft, the Flex 4 game in round 6. He is my favorite selection. I can't say it, he's going behind Tony Pollard. Okay? He's going behind Jordan Addison. This doesn't make any sense. Get out of here.
Addison's a guy I'm not drafting. Pollard I actually don't mind, but
not over Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson's in the stone nuts situation. I mean, this is incredible. Yeah. He's basically in the Saquon Barkley situation without Saquon Barkley's talent. It's like if you took Saquon Barkley and you put him in a machine that just sucked athleticism out of him, sucked strength and athleticism like a big sucking machine, right? Like it would atrophy him, right? If he had to go into this chamber and they closed it, and then he wasn't, and they could just feed him through a tube, but he couldn't use his muscles. And then when he came out of it, he's all weaker and not as flexible, right? Everything. And then they're like, okay, time to start the season, right? That's basically Brian Robinson, is just this atrophied version of Saquon Barkley, which I fucking absolutely am all over atrophied Saquon in round 6 of FastDraft.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Had no talent. Saquon Barkley is a great sell, but I do like the situation.
I'm just saying.
I do like
less strength.
I think if
less explosiveness,
less emphasis on having all his tallant sucked out of him,
some of it, just the talent meter would just suck it out somehow. I don't know how you would do it. With physiologically, I don't know how you would do it exactly. I was just trying to think of ways you could drain someone of their athleticism.
Yeah.
All I know is I hurt my shoulder and I've had my arm in a sling, and now my tricep doesn't even exist. I don't even have one.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it goes. I did that. I broke my arm real bad, and the same thing happened, dude. When I took it out, it was like nothing, dude. So I think Brian Robinson, and Jaden Daniels isn't necessarily the threat that Jalen Hurts even is, because Hurts does the tush push, and they don't really do it at that level. So I think he could score a lot of touchdowns. Obviously, the mobile quarterback isn't great for receptions, but he is great for efficiency, right? We see the guys like Jonathan Taylor, his yards per carry, huge. So Yeah, I mean, in that round, and again in fast draft, I've been trying to tell our guys at Fantasy Alarm that read our articles and do all our stuff is that like all you want to focus on is upside. That's it. Season long upside, right? Because it's total points scored. And the teams that win are going to have, in their 4 spots, they're going to have 4 guys that finish top 10. Most likely. Last year, the guy that won had the guy that finished what? 1, 3, 5, and 9 in fantasy football when you sort by the flex. So that's what I've been telling our guys. I say, go through this list and ask yourself, is this going to be a top 5 running back, top 5 wide receiver? Is this guy going to absolutely tear the roof off? And that's why Jordan Addison isn't even in my top 60. When I do turbo drafts, there's a 0% chance that I get Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir. It's just it's because I've set my rankings the way I have. It's not even possible for them to end up on my team. And I've actually taken a lot of the tight ends out too, even though I'm the tight end guy. And I have been, emailing you and Billy Muzio once a week saying, where's my tight end premium format? When's the tight end premium coming? Like until it does, a tight end has never finished as the number 1 flex player in fantasy football. Never once. A tight end drafted in the first round has never actually finished as a top 12 player in that same year. We've seen guys like Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce do it when they weren't drafted that way, just because they surprised a little bit. But like, it's just a tough bet to say that this tight end's going to come out and he's going to be that good. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride could happen. And there's some other darts you maybe can throw. But the problem is that ADP carries over from other formats to this format. And the positional scarcity pushes tight ends up boards on the other formats. That's the problem you run into. It's the problem you run into. People are drafting Brock Bowers as if there's a tight end spot in this roster, and there's not.
No,
it's a flex 4.
Generally speaking, we have a Discord. I'll put a Discord in the chat, and I'll put the Discord in the show description as well. The FastDraft show description, and people are, hey, judge this team, and I rate the teams. People are, hey, rate my team. There's a whole rate my team section on the Discord, in the FastDraft Discord, and I'm like, I don't mind this team, but I would never have taken Trey McBride where you did. I like Trey McBride in other formats, just not in this particular format. Like, I don't know why Aaron Jones isn't getting drafted more. I'm like, what am I missing with Aaron Jones? Like, there's real upside with Aaron Jones. He's not. He has not shown signs of a cliff year. He's a lightly used race car. Whereas, some of these other running backs absolutely have, and some of these wide receivers, they just don't have the upside. When I saw today someone draft Justin Jefferson over Saquon, and I'm like, whoa, that's big. And if you love Justin Jefferson in this team situation this much, how can you not draft Aaron Jones at all in Flex 4? The Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones dichotomy, when you look at ADPs, is a real mystery to me, because Aaron Jones has finished top 5 among NFL running backs in fantasy football before, and all they did was trade for Jordan Mason. Like, is this something I really care about? I don't love the situation in Minnesota because we have what is essentially a rookie quarterback. And I think all these players need to be discounted slightly because you don't know what J.J. McCarthy is, which is why I can't bring myself to be drafting Justin Jefferson at that ADP. But Aaron Jones, many, many rounds later, well, that, 7th, 8th round on underdog? Come on, man.
Dude, I was shocked that because Justin Jefferson last year had the second most receiving yards behind only Jamar Chase, right? But he didn't lead the Vikings in yards from scrimmage. Aaron Jones did. Aaron Jones was like the focal point of this offense, more yards than Justin Jefferson last year, right? So when you boil it down that way, entirely possible that he comes out. The only thing that's really stopping people is coach speak. Kevin O'Connell went on the radio in the offseason when they asked him about Aaron Jones, and he was posturing to try and get Jones to sign a cheaper deal, as you're supposed to when you're the coach and the GM and these guys. And he said, we're going to bring Jones back. We want to bring Jones back. We want to bring him back, maybe bring in a younger guy, do some sort of committee type thing or whatever. And people are globbing onto that. But then they didn't go. And people, in our minds, we're like, okay, that means Aaron Jones coming in, then they're going to draft a Marion Hampton, right? And they're going to do a 2-back thing. They didn't really do that. They didn't
have the picks. They decided to use those picks to go trade for Jordan Mason, which wasn't a very sound move. But this is what some NFL teams make, some weird moves, and they did that. But this isn't like a big threat to Aaron Jones.
No.
I mean, come on, man. So, yeah, I think that, and also Jordan Mason gets hurt, then that's how Aaron Jones can finish top 5. We did mention, so 49ers, Dolphins, the teams that run the most, fullback, highest usage of fullback. Anyone else that have inordinate high fullback usage?
So the Ravens are always going to be a team that are going to use their guy Patrick Ricard. They use him in line as like a tight end sometimes too. They're up there, but even more interesting for me. Are the teams that there are rumors they could start using it this year, right? The number one, and it's not even a rumor because this one's not a rumor because the offensive coordinator said it in his introductory press conference. They asked him the very first day. He goes, "We're going to bring the fullback. We're going to bring the fullback here," and that's Clint Kubiak with the Seattle Seahawks. Kubiak spent a lot of time. I know he has his own things. He does things his dad likes doing, but he spent a lot of time with the 49ers. And then when he left the 49ers and went to the Saints, what did he do? The first thing they did was get the big left tackle, right? That's the same thing Mike McDaniel did with getting Teron Armstead, their version of Trent Williams. Then they went out and they got a fullback, Adam Prentice. Last year for the Saints, Alvin Kamara played the most backfield snaps of any running back. Number 2 was Adam Prentice, the fullback, ahead of Jamal Williams and Kendrick Miller and all these other guys. And what they did was highly consolidate the targets among Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed while they were healthy. And then the tight end situation was kind of all over the place with Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill and Juwan Johnson. But you saw Alvin Kamara was on pace for his first ever 1,000-yard rushing season. He was the RB1 through the first 6 weeks and RB2 through the first 12 weeks last year in this scheme. And Clint Kubiak's bringing that over. He's bringing Rick Dennison, the offensive line whisperer. They went out and they drafted Gray Zabel in the first round. They're going to use that fullback. They drafted great fullback name. They drafted a guy, Robbie Oots. Oots. You can hear it now. When he gets that one catch every 4 weeks or one handoff every 4 weeks, the crowd, Oots. 270-pound guy with a mullet out of Alabama. Like, they're going to set it up, which means you're going to get no wide receiver 3. No Marquez Valdez-Scantling will come out sporadically to be a field stretcher. You're going to get 2 wide receivers in JSN and Cooper Kupp playing high snap shares. It's going to be good news for Kenneth Walker. And if anything happens, good news for Zach Charbonnet. And it could potentially be good news for whoever the starting tight end is. I hate to say it, but if Noah Fant gets the job, look at the career trajectory for Johnny Smith. Athletic player that didn't really pop anywhere else. Finally got a job in the right system that uses a 2-way inline tight end with athleticism to break off chunk plays, and he popped off. If Noah Fant is in that George Kittle role, if Johnny Smith role, then he could be great. I hope he gets released because they could save $9.5 million, and I want it to be Elijah Arroyo. But if it's not,
no, it's not gonna. No. That's not how it works.
I want it to. I do. I mean, they could save money.
That's not how it works. They're gonna go with Fant.
If they go with Fant, then he's going to be. I mean, look at that speed, 4.5 40.
He's 27.
27.
They're going to go. This guy's a mega athlete. They're going to go Fant. He could still be unlocked. There are plenty of guys from Greg Olson to Martellus Bennett that were unlocked at age 27 at tight end.
Travis Kelce didn't have his first 1,000-yard season until he was 27. I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact. He did not have a 1,000-yard season until he was 27. Delaney Walker didn't break out until he left the 49ers after 7 years and went to the Titans at 30 years old, and he had back-to-back top 5, 6, 7, 8 tight end seasons. In the right scheme, sometimes this happens. I mean, it could happen for Fant. Now, again, if I
just want to make sure people the best strategy for best ball is you go 3 tight ends and you draft a Hunter Henry, a Pat Freiermuth, a Noah Fant. This is what you do. This is how you do it. You pieced it together, Jatavian Sanders, you piece together the tight end position with 3 guys all late, and you don't burn any early draft capital on tight end. I understand the rationale for bully tight end. I understand it. I understand why these premium tight ends, why they get pushed up. But the opportunity cost of a super dynamic player or a player in the complete perfect situation like a Brian Robinson is who you have to forego to get these tight ends and draft only 2. But later on, you're cycling through wide receivers in best ball that really aren't going to make the difference anyway. They are not. You can talk yourself into it. They're not going to make the difference. What will make the difference is if you can piece together tight ends in those rounds and they can essentially give you whole tight end production every week between three guys. That is the cheat code.
Right. And for the last 7 seasons, we've had a tight end come from outside the top 15 in ADP to finish top 5. Evan Engram was the guy twice. Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, Robert Tonyan, Dalton Schultz one year. Logan Thomas, dude. Logan Thomas.
What did Njoku? What did Njoku last year?
So last year was Jonnu Smith.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah. So last year was Jonnu Smith. Like, so it's the position where it happens the most. And if you go into your best ball draft, I do the same thing at quarterback too, where it's like you get to that range. There are quarterbacks going in the last rounds of like an 18-round underdog draft that could potentially start the entire season at quarterback. You know what I mean?
Like I meant 2023. Njoku is 2023.
2023, yeah. So yeah,
he's on Njoku, 800 yards, 882 yards and 6 touchdowns on 123 targets. He hadn't had a season since or before. It was the only season where he had 100 plus targets.
Mm-hmm. And what age was he that year? 27.
I mean, I'm telling you.
It's the way it goes, dude. It's just the way it goes. Evan Engram was 20. I think he was 27, 28 when he left the Giants.
I like Arroyo in Dynasty and Fant in best ball. I mean, that is the move. I do like me some Seattle tight ends for the reasons you laid out.
And Noah Fant, both Arroyo and Fant can be had as last round picks. Like Fant isn't even in the top 34 or so tight ends, which means he goes undrafted virtually every time. FFPC drafts that go to 20 rounds, it's very easy to just take a stab there. You know what I mean? And I have a little bit of Arroyo, I have a little bit of Fant, just because I know that scheme. I know they're going to be bringing out these big dogs that are not going to touch the ball. AJ Barner is a blocking tight end. You look at his best comparable player on Player Profiler. I'll tell you who it is because I look at this stuff all the time. It's Durham Smythe. I don't even have it up in front of me. I know it. So go ahead and pull it up, Matt. That's fact. So you look at guys
who is it? Who we pulling up?
Pull up AJ Barner.
Okay.
Unless it's changed in the last week or so. His best comparable player on Player Profiler.
I don't believe you. There's no way it's Durham Smythe.
Durham Smythe. I think it is, dude. So there you go. So you've got, I'm telling you, I'm in these tight end streets, brother. So and you look at these guys, Luke Farrell, Durham Smythe, guys that run a 4.8, right? Guys that very rarely break off big chunk plays. And he blocked on a big, huge percentage of his pass plays last year. Like this is your perfect blocking tight end. In this exact scheme, Charlie Warner for the 49ers, Durham Smythe for the Dolphins. These are the coaches that use the same scheme, Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan and Clint Kubiak. So that's probably what AJ Barner is going to be. And that's a great thing when you have AJ Barner and Robbie Oots out there just playing a combined 700 snaps and touching the ball never. That's very good for everyone else.
So Liam Cohen, I would say probably maxed out what you can get from Cade Otton. I'm not drafting Cade Otton because I think he was maxed out last year.
Big sell.
When you spin it forward, what about Brenton Strange?
So Brenton Strange is in that exact situation. So that scheme, that tree of guys, this is the tree of coaches that runs the most 3 wide receiver sets, Matt. It's the Sean McVay tree. So you have the Rams, you have Zach Robinson with the Falcons, and Liam Cohen, who, him and James Gladstone came from the Rams. They run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and they also put their best wide receiver, if possible, in the slot, right? Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp. This year, who knows? It could be Brian Thomas Jr. It could be Travis Hunter, but that's why they got rid of Christian Kirk, and that's why they got rid of Evan Engram. Because they said, you're not part of the scheme. We need a Tyler Higbee, Cade Otton, inline 2-way tight end. Evan Engram is 6'3", 234. That's never going to be him. He's just not part of the game. It's like we're playing chess now and you're a checker piece, so we got to get rid of you. So that's why they moved on for him. And I'm still in on him because, hey, you know what? He found a scheme that fits. But Brenton Strange now becomes that double handcuff plus tight end that Cade Otton is. When a wide receiver is hurt, he gets more targets. When the wide receivers are healthy, he's useless, right? And that's kind of where he's going to live, unless you think Travis Hunter is just going to completely faceplant. And if that happens, then of course, then he has a shot to be a top 2 target on the team. But the most likely outcome is that the top 2 targets are going to be Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. They're both going to get over 100 targets, and Brenton Strange is just going to be eating crumbs. And when they throw 50 times, Brenton Strange might have a good game. And when they throw 30 times, he won't do anything. And you're basically just waiting for somebody to get hurt. Again, it's possible. As you say, wide receivers always get hurt. Rookies can faceplant, but it puts him in a tough spot where now his window gets like open and closed randomly. You know what I mean? Like Cade Otton. When guys are hurt, Cade Otton gets like 7, 8, 9 targets, right? But when they're healthy, useless.
What about 12 personnel? Who uses the most 12 personnel?
So
you said Seattle. You're projecting to use heavy 12 personnel.
So the teams that use the most 12 personnel, because these teams will use 22 personnel, 1 wide receiver sets. How many times have you seen the Ravens use a 1 wide receiver set? Right, right, they do, because they have the 2 tight ends and they have the fullback and the running back.
Which is this is why I'm fine with Flowers. He's the one guy.
Right. He's the one. Right. In 2019, the Ravens didn't have a single wide receiver that played more than 52% of the snaps. I think it was Willie Snead. Like, they were just like the goon squad. Yeah, it was very strange offense. So, like, the team that used the most 12 personnel, though, are the teams that use their tight end as a wide receiver. So, and then they have an inline tight end. So the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs, Noah Gray plays a ton of snaps, right? The Chiefs will use a lot of 12. The Raiders will use a lot of 12 because Brock Bowers is a wide receiver. So
that makes perfect sense because you want to get Michael Mayer on the field.
He's on the field plenty. Like when he's willing to play, he's on the field plenty. The Ravens, of course, with their guys.
When he's willing to play.
When he's willing to play. The Patriots actually also last year, due to their lack of hustle, right? Due to the lack of anyone doing anything, they brought in Tyler Hughes from Washington to be their wide receiver coach. And then he picked his guy, Jalen Polk. And he was the guy, the wide receiver coach is the guy that decides who gets to play. And he couldn't find a way to get his guy, Jalen Polk, on the field. That is probably the biggest indictment of a rookie I've ever seen. So they basically said, we have to use Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper because these guys all failed. So there you go. There's a lot of 2 tight end sets right there.
God, Austin Hooper, man. Austin Hooper.
He's out there, bro.
Austin, what's the difference between Austin Hooper?
What's the difference between what Austin Hooper did last year and what Noah Gray did last year and what Isaiah Likely did last year? I mean, statistically speaking, not that far off. That's why I don't really draft Isaiah Likely much because, like, what is the difference between him and Noah Gray right now?
I'm unlikely to draft him.
Unlikely, yeah.
Yeah.
But
have you seen the buzz around Jameson Williams?
The thing is, it's all warranted in the context of what the player is capable of. When everything goes right, he's like so exciting, right? Mm-hmm. He was the best wide receiver in college football before he got hurt. Like he goes out and he'll touch the ball 3 times and 2 of them would be 40-yard plays. It's just that the team might be too good for its own. It's like a DJ Khaled suffering from success. That's what the Lions and the Chiefs are right now. I want those defenses to be worse. I want the run games to be worse.
They're not getting worse.
It's like the year Peyton Manning. Go back and look at Peyton Manning's stats. One year, the Colts went 12-4, and he threw 49 touchdown passes. Right, and the next offseason, the defense got better, and the run game got better, and the team was better. They went 14-2. So you would think he would throw 40 touchdown passes, but he didn't. He threw like 20-something because he didn't have to. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. He throws 50 touchdown passes. They go 12-2. Next year, team gets better. They go 14-2, and he doesn't throw 50 touchdown passes. Like, we want these guys back. We want these teams with the back against the ropes. Kind of goes back to your Jets. Back against the ropes, 2 players forcing the ball to their only good players just trying to survive. Like, that is the secret. That's the fantasy success. We want the Bengals investing everything in the offense and nothing in the defense and just saying, well, we'll just throw more haymakers than you'll throw.
Well, unfortunately, the Lions, with the 28th pick, selected a 330-pound defensive lineman.
Right.
So they're just continuing to double down
Did
on
you
this.
did you like that pick? I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't have that guy on my radar in that range at all.
I did not have him. I participated in the mock draft contest, and I beat Cody and I beat Alex.
Oh, you beat Cody? That's
Yeah, it
funny.
was just listen. I got hot.
Cody,
I had a really
Cody's
lucky
very
thing
good.
happen.
Cody's very good. Alex is good too, obviously. But
Yeah, they're very
both
good.
those guys
Yeah,
are
I
good.
beat a lot of people, and then my big board was near the top. My top 100. Listen, it was very lucky. I had James Pierce going to the Falcons at 15, and then they traded back in at the end of the first to draft Pierce. So I ended up getting the correct player and pick. No, I got the right player and team, but the wrong pick, but that doesn't matter. In this particular contest, the pick doesn't matter. So I ended up, anyway, very lucky. It was very, very fortunate that happened. So I'm looking at the Lions. It doesn't appear they had a second-round pick. Oh, no, they traded up. They traded up with the Jaguars in round 3 to take Tesla. So that's interesting. And then they traded with the Rams. Oh, yeah, there was a big trade for them to get Ratledge. So then they took, so they went basically point of attack, offensive lineman, offensive guard, Ratledge with a mullet and a mustache, who's 6'7", 310 pounds. And then they took the defensive lineman. I thought that was a reach. Tyler Williams was a reach. But what are they doing? They're just continuing to invest and reinvest into the offensive line and the defensive line. And there's nothing that tells you, oh, this team is going to start to throw more. All I'm seeing is they're investing in the run game and they're investing in the defense.
Yeah, and I even like their swing tackle, like Dan Skipper. Like you know what I mean?
Whole thing
they're all figured out. And the thing is, I look at their
they're trying to become immune to injury is what they're trying to do.
Right.
They know that they have a Super Bowl caliber team, and now they're trying to address the possibility of injury. Like, these are insurance policies they're drafting. This is how well built this team is.
Right. If Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, like people are like, where does Isaac Tesla fit? Well, that's where he fits, right? If Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, then you got another one. And I think a lot of teams are doing that where they're like, they know the hit rates are bad. We've known for years the hit rates are bad. And they're basically saying, these are the guys that we've drafted that have worked for us. We've identified and found them, right? Brad Holmes, going back to his time with the Rams, they found Cooper Kupp. He came here. They found Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, Brad Holmes, I always say, like, oh, I don't like their draft, but then it's the back-to-back executive of the year, Brad Holmes. So maybe he's right and I'm wrong, So it's hard to complain about that. But, like, a lot of teams are doing this where it's like, look at the Buccaneers. They were like, oh, we love Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's a big part of our team. Let's go get the guy that everyone says is Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka. You look at what the Texans drafting, Jaden Higgins, who's I had him comped to Nico Collins. It's like a lot of these teams seem to go out and say, hey, you know what? We had success finding this guy. This is the most similar guy. Let's give ourselves the best odds by drafting somebody like that. So I don't think it's crazy. It's just for fantasy football, it's not sexy. It's the least sexy thing maybe ever.
Even if Goff goes down, Hendon Hooker is a quality backup.
Right. There were some trade rumors about him. They didn't move him.
No, they don't want to move him. They're accounting for every possible scenario, including losing their quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, that's bad for fantasy. It is, because you want teams like a lot of times an injury happens and then the ball goes, gets really hyper funneled to guy. Like that's how we got Amon-Ra St. Brown's rookie year. That's how we got Hunter Renfrow when he was top 12 wide receiver. Darren Waller goes down and you have nobody else, right? Like they have plenty of options. I mean, and Tim Patrick is exactly fine too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have a hard time pulling the trigger on anybody except Gibbs. I do like Gibbs and Monty at 82.
Yeah, you have to like those guys, but you can't get out over your skis on Jameson Williams. My advice would be to be half the field in terms of exposure on Jameson Williams. He could absolutely be a very profitable best ball receiver if things break exactly right for this team. So I wouldn't have no exposure, but I would
Yeah,
definitely be way underweight on him because
he's built
also historically, what has he done except disappoint?
right. He is built. The argument for best ball for sure is he's built for spike weeks. Right.
Yeah.
This is the guy that takes the handoff 60 yards. He has a 70-yard post, that goes to the house. Like, which in best ball, that's fine. I think he's going to be a frustrating player to have in redraft. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very different. So if you take guys with similar ADPs, like you could safely put DK Metcalf on your do not draft list, right? You don't have to draft him.
I'm not drafting him now, especially because we've seen this situation in the past. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers today, his ADP is not going to go up that much. So right now, he's a terrible value. And if they sign Rodgers, his ADP will probably stay the same, and then he'll be a fine value. So
He'll
it's
be a
not like
fine value, but still, he's not a guy that's gonna beat you. You're not gonna be looking up and going, yeah, if I had just taken DK, I might have won all the money. That's not gonna happen. Same thing with Jerry Jeudy. It's not gonna happen. These are guys that they cannot beat you at these ADPs. A guy like Jameson Williams, I mean, things could break his way. So I would want some for sure.
True. Yeah. I mean, again, because if Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, now he's the number one guy. Like Tesla's not going to come in and get 125 targets.
Yeah, you gotta realize all the contingencies that are in place. No matter what the contingency is, there's no contingency where DK Metcalf kills me. That's not something. Now, just looking at pure upside, I mean, someone has to emerge at some point as the alpha in Green Bay. So are you drafting more Golden? Are you drafting more Jaden Reed? Where are you at with this passing game? Because a lot of people are very concerned about the step backward that Jordan Love took.
There was such an interesting quote from Jaden Reed's camp where his agent's Drew Rosenhaus, and they were like, oh, we just want to make sure that our guy's still viewed as the number one wide receiver here. And, the Packers were like, oh, yeah, he's still the number one guy. And I just thought to myself, I was like, at what point has Jaden Reed been the number one guy? He almost never plays more than 75% of the snaps. He basically just plays slot. He's basically Josh Downs that gets a couple of handoffs. You know what I mean? Like, they don't use him the way that you do use like a Jackson Smith and Jigba or a CeeDee Lamb or Chris Godwin. If they did do that, then he would stay on the field for two wide receiver sets, but he doesn't. He almost never does. Go look last year. I think he only had one game where he played more than 75% of snaps, right? So the handoffs are a nice little bonus. Over the last couple of years, it's amounted to 50 extra fantasy points. But like, unless they plan to change his role, then he's just going to have this be the same guy, right? And Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks combined have played 5 seasons. They've never had a regular season game between them with over 100 yards. Romeo Doubs had one in the playoffs, right? It's just it's tough in that situation. Matthew Golden, I think, has the kind of upside, if he pops and he's the number one guy, to really take it to another level. They drafted him to be that guy, so I think he's probably the best bet there. Or I guess, if you want to play the game that we play sometimes and say, hey, you know what? Everybody's going to get 80 or 90 targets. Well, Tucker Kraft is there. But Tucker Kraft, I like the player, but last year he was getting 4.1 targets per game, right? That amounts to 70 targets, which is what he got in 17 games, and that's not enough. Like, he needs a role change. If they were to finally say, do what we want them to do, and Jaden Reed were to go from being a part-time player to an every down player, he could have league-winning upside.
But they didn't have Matthew Golden last year, and he just had these 2 games with a 70% snap share, and those are the games where he went off.
Yes.
33 points. He was the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. And then 27 points. He was the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy those weeks. Those are the 2 weeks that he cracked a 70% snap share.
I know, and we want it. That's
now they have
literally
Golden.
The formula. That's the formula. I was listening back to you 2017, 2018. You said, we like Chris Godwin. This is a good football player. Right now, he's stuck behind Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, and just hold on to him and good things will happen. And what happened in year 3 when he finally got a full-time role? Laser show, right? Wide receiver 2 overall. There are guys in the league that I like in that way, right? Like, I mentioned Jaden Reed. I mentioned Josh Downs. I wrote an article last year with 3 players in it, and they were Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I said, these guys they're already good in the slot. If they become full-time players, they'll blow up. CeeDee Lamb, people don't realize CeeDee Lamb, his rookie year, played 94% of his snaps from the slot because they had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. When he got a full-time role in year 2, he became one of the best players in fantasy football. If that were to ever happen for Reed or Downs or a few of these guys, then they would pop. But the thing is, we've got no indication that they're going to do that. If they would come out and say, hey, we're going to, if I get one practice report that says
if I knew that they hated somehow have come to Jesus and they realized that Romeo Doubs stinks.
Like it should be. We
don't know that. We don't know that they know that.
Why can't it be Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed in 2 wide receiver sets? If they were to come out, like I'm going to be watching the camp reports, and if they say, hey, Jaden Reed's playing outside. Last year, he was going through the drills and he was playing slot. He's playing outside this year. If I start hearing reports like that, we're going to move him up. But if he's just going to be another slot guy, then he's just going to continue to be just okay. Right? He'll be Khalil Shakir, which is fine. His stats aren't that much different than Khalil Shakir besides the rushing. I know. Just pull him up 800 yards or whatever receiving. It sucks.
Who's your favorite? Who would you say is your favorite rookie to draft in best ball? Like whether it be FastDraft, whether it be underdog, FFPC, best ball.
Well, you saw my 10 turbo teams I submitted the other day, and where I had RJ Harvey on every single one of them. So I think you know that answer. But the thing is with RJ Harvey,
I do know that answer. You're right. This was a setup question. This is why I come up with these questions in advance, and you could see on the show sheet. The next segment of the show sheet is about RJ Harvey for a reason.
Yeah. So he's just. I mean, you look at the situation. So for me, especially in FastDraft, where he's going in the 6th round, so I just take him in the 5th round because I'm like, these are interchangeable picks for me. I like there's a whole glob of guys where I like them a lot in the last round there. And again, we mentioned guys like Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, guys that could potentially lead their team in targets, or not lead, but could be high consolidation target guys. But I love RJ Harvey. I went back through, Matt, and I looked at Joe Lombardi's career. Joe Lombardi's the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. And I looked at every team that he's been a part of the offensive staff. And I went back 18 years. And in all 18 of those years, that team finished in top 5 in passes to the running back for 18 straight years. All of them. Whether it was the Lions, whether it was the Saints, whether it was the Chargers, whether it was the Broncos the last couple of years, right? Every single time. He just loves passing to the running back. And last year, Javonte Williams was 5th in the league in targets for a running back. It doesn't feel like it, but it happened because that's what Joe Lombardi likes to do. So if RJ Harvey can get that role, it's not a guarantee, but if he comes in and they say, you're the guy, and Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin, you guys are just going to mix in when we need you, but this is the guy now, right? This converted quarterback that's super athletic, that's super smart to be our Alvin Kamara, then the upside for him is 100 targets.
Yeah, because we know that Javonte Williams was very dusty last year. His career is trending in the wrong direction. Now, it could be that it was a major knee reconstruction, and this year is the first year he actually is all the way back. So now
Javonte Williams is telling us
Jaden Blue. I like Jaden Blue, and I think Jaden Blue is a great option if you were talking about, hey, these are my favorite rookies for best ball. Jaden Blue is a no-brainer. But I also, especially if I'm not doing like a hyper fragile build with running back, if I'm drafting, say, 5 running backs, man, one of them really should be Javonte Williams.
Yeah, it is interesting because
it's very interesting.
No one believes in Miles Sanders. Phil Maffa is he's of the Alfred Morris, Jeremy Hill ilk, just big bruiser, but I don't think he has any sort of dynamic aspects to him. Obviously, Deuce Vaughn is just a wee little lad. He's on the team because his dad's one of the coaches or he's a scout. It really is Javonte versus Jaden Blue. And they didn't take I get the idea.
What they invested, think about what Dallas invested. They invested for them recently. They invested gold bars at the tight end position. For them to go with a 5th round pick after going so many years without drafting a running back at all, for them to go into free agency and snag a running back that actually has some name cachet that people actually know, and not just going with whoever's next on their depth chart, Rico Dowdle. For the Cowboys the last 5 years, what they invested in the running back position this past year was quite a lot, actually.
Right. I guess you're right. Yeah. The thing is, though, you know what it is? It's ego. It's ego. Some of these guys, Jerry Jones, they think we do it different here, and the way we do it, we'll do it with anybody.
That's
And
right.
also, he'll do these trades where he'll trade for Jonathan Mingo because he thinks, oh, that well, they're the Panthers and we're the Cowboys, so we'll take this guy and he'll be
We
good
got
with
Dak.
us.
Yeah,
Right?
yep.
He'll be good with us because they don't do it right over there. We do things the right way here in Jerry World, right? Or Trey Lance he'll figure it out when he gets here. When we get him here, and then they also say, oh, it's not because Rico Dowdle's good. It's because we're the Cowboys. That's why Rico Dowdle was good. So, we're not worried about it. And I'm not sure that always works. But I will say this: whoever the starting running back is, it's a value proposition because of the ADPs. Somebody's gonna hit. I just wrote an article. I have 2 articles. One's up right now. The other one's going to be up today, and it's just one question for every single team. What's the most important question to create leverage in fantasy football? And that is the question for the Cowboys. Who's going to be the starting running back? Because there's leverage to be had. And every single team, besides maybe the Eagles. The Eagles, well, there's the one team I looked at and I was like, there's no questions. We just know who the dogs are at every spot, right? My question for them ended up being who's going to be the backup running back? Like who's the handcuff to Barkley if there even is one? But like every other team has questions like that where you can create serious leverage. And the teams that won last year, the teams that drafted Brian Thomas Jr. and Bucky Irving and Chuba Hubbard, like they got the questions right in the later rounds. 100%. That's the biggest thing. That's why I always write these articles each year. Like, hey, this is what we're watching in camp because it could change everything.
I think if there were 2 teams where you could say in best ball, create a rule where you want to get one of these 4 running backs from these 2 teams. Just make sure at the end of the draft, make sure you're heavily invested in these 2 backfields. One of them would be the Bengals backfield.
Yeah.
And one of them would be the Cowboys backfield. Right? So you're always trying to get either Blue or Javonte Williams, and you're always trying to get either Chase Brown or Taj Brooks. And if in every best ball draft, I know that I'm going to have one of those 4 guys. I'm going to have 25% Javonte, 25% Blue, 25% Brown, 25% Brooks. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Boy, the upside for Chase Brown is crazy, but you're right. They won't crown the guy, I feel like. Why not just come out and say, hey, you know what? This is our guy. We love this guy. And then we can all
It doesn't matter. Who cares? It's just like we don't know what the hell is going to happen. It's so ambiguous in Dallas, but we know the offense is going to be the right offense. So just get Blue and get Javonte whenever you can. We know this is going to be, again, the best offense in the league in Cincinnati. So just, of course you want the receivers, but they're premium prices.
Right.
The running back is inexpensive. He's going around after Bucky Irving.
Right. The running back could.
What are we talking about? Get him.
The Bengals starting running back could score 20 touchdowns.
Think about the rookies that are going at the same ADP as Taj Brooks. It's stupid. It's silliness given his upside in that system.
Yeah. And, it wouldn't be the first time we saw a deep guy come out. We watched Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, the starting running back at the time was Ty Montgomery. And then they drafted Jamal Williams, and then they drafted Aaron Jones later in that same draft. And it turned out to be a good offense, and he emerged just ahead of everybody else. So, there could be a world where Taj Brooks ends up being the best guy there. Zach Moss is not a threat. I'm
not saying he's the best guy. I'm saying as long as you just want some exposure, you're gonna be banking touchdown based spike weeks from Taj Brooks. Even if he's the clear number 2, he's a breather back on a team that just has a ton of possessions, running a ton of plays, a ton of red zone visits. Some of them go to Chase Brown, but some of them might go to Taj Brooks. Okay, what if Samaje Perine proves himself to be more valuable than Zach Moss in camp, and they can cut Zach Moss? Brooks plays well, but in week 1, Brooks is technically number 3 on the depth chart. Now, by, say, week 3 or 4, he's moved ahead of Perine in terms of carries, where Perine's still active on special teams. Now, all of a sudden, he's getting 8 carries. Now he's getting 10 carries as the season goes along. And this is all we're talking about at the end of a draft when you're drafting a running back. And then, he trends into something closer to like 10 to 15 touches a game when it matters most in best ball. And so it could pay off no matter who you got. I'm not saying you draft both these guys. I'm not doing that in best ball. I don't want negative correlation at running back. But what I'm saying is you could divide it up or say, I didn't get Chase Brown, so I'm going to be more aggressive going after Brooks. I didn't get Javonte Williams. I'm going to try to get Blue.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, but I have to pay a lot more to do that. I don't want to do that. That way. Well, and again, I love the scheme, so I take Walker. If I don't get Walker, I'll take Charbonnet. But again, what really is necessarily the difference right now between those guys? And we've even seen, like last year, nobody was drafting him, but because people were taking Marshawn Lloyd, but like, look at the Packers. They were just super run heavy, and they were running Josh Jacobs so much that Emmanuel Wilson was popping for games, So if a team is really getting into a situation where they're scoring a ton and they're, running backs getting dogged, then you get in there and you make those plays. So yeah, totally with you on Taj Brooks. I gotta mix in more in the portfolio because I haven't been taking a ton of him so far.
You also got to mix in Roschon Johnson.
Roschon is getting steamed up all of a sudden. He's been the number one mover on FFPC over the last couple weeks. And people are starting to realize that you got a Ben Johnson 2-back system, and they didn't go out and get the other back. And everyone wants them. Everyone's fantasy wishing Nick Chubb to them. I am as well. But you would think they would do something if they were going to do something. Like,
wow, what a world we live in.
Right?
What a world where the number one mover is Roschon Johnson. After all these years, and I never wavered. Check the tape. I never waver. Call me a flip-flopper. No.
Not
I
on
did
Roschon.
not waver.
You were talking about Roschon last year.
I was talking about Roschon last week. I was talking about Roschon last month. I was talking about Roschon last year. I'm always talking about this guy. I'm talking about him so much they tell him, emailing me, podfather at rotowonderworld.com. Stop talking about Roschon. Enough Roschon. Move on. By the way, if you don't want me to move on from guys like Roschon and you do want me to call the guys that are going to be the big movers next week, if you like that, if you want tomorrow's newspaper, like the show, you listen to the podcast, share it with a friend, put a comment down on the running back that you thought I forgot about. Did we forget about somebody? We're talking about late round running backs we're trying to get. Taj Brooks, Roschon Johnson. Who did we miss? Make sure you put that in the comments. Caleb Johnson, talking to Cody Carpentier. Caleb Johnson, he just reminded me, he could actually have more carries this year than Genty.
Wow.
It's possible.
Roschon? That would be...
No, Caleb Johnson.
Oh, Caleb Johnson, yeah. Sorry, I thought we were still talking Roschon.
No, I'm pivoting to Caleb Johnson. I don't have much more on Roschon. The audience can't take it.
Yeah, why? I mean, Caleb Johnson is in... And again, this is... The debate has kind of been like Quinshon Judkins versus Caleb Johnson. And even Marin Hampton in that range. But we know this team wants to run. We know they want to pound the rock. We know how they view Jaylen Warren, right? And if they view Jaylen Warren as an every down back, why would they draft Caleb Johnson? Right?
They don't.
You didn't have to do that. So I think
this is the weird thing. Like the lack of first principles. What is Jaylen Warren? What is he? What is his essence? He is
great pass blocker.
A satellite back.
Yeah.
He is a good pass blocker. He is a good pass catcher. He is a great asset. He is nice. Bring him in for the 2-minute drill. Be happy. That's a good asset to have on a football team. Caleb Johnson is a workhorse. Like, we like RJ Harvey because the team is signaling, we're going to use him in the passing game, and there's a history of heavy usage for running backs in the passing game in Denver. But he's not going to get the same number of touches as Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson's going to eat.
Yeah. Now, who do you think will be the quarterback week 1 for the Steelers? It can't be Mason Rudolph. Matt,
that's one where I don't much care. I know the quarterback matters for running backs, of course. We've talked about this many times. And again, this is why I'm very bullish on certain running backs and certain backfields, because I think the quarterback is going to carry the day and I want exposure. Brian Robinson. But in this particular case, where he's being priced, that's all baked in. It's all baked in. And as long as there's some glimmer of hope, whether there's some exceeding of expectations at the quarterback position, whoever it is, maybe it's a quarterback that we don't even know yet. Whatever, right? It's not a quarterback we even talked about. It's not Aaron Rodgers. It's not Mason Rudolph. It's somebody else.
You know what name?
It's quarterback X. I don't care.
Curveball name, quarterback X, Ryan Tannehill.
Sure. Right? Sure. Caleb Johnson's going to get tons of carries, and he's going to grind out yards. And no matter what, he's going to be a better position than Judkins. Okay? So to me, that's not the conversation. To me, it's a very interesting conversation between Caleb and R.J. Harvey. And what you get from R.J. Harvey as the satellite back plus in Denver in that role versus what you can get from Caleb Johnson in more of a workhorse role in the Pittsburgh offense, trying to parse that out and figure out who actually has more upside, who has a higher floor. I think that Harvey has more upside. I think that Caleb has the higher floor. I think they're both great options for best ball. I really do. Because having high floor players is very valuable to lock in that production, and you never know how it's going to shake out. Let's look at do you have the Steelers schedule handy? Let's look at the Steelers schedule at the end of the year. What's their December schedule look like?
Yeah, so their season wraps. I keep the schedule as my background on my computer just so I can always take a quick peek at it.
Oh my God, love that.
So week 15 on goes Miami, at Detroit, at Cleveland.
Okay,
so that's what.
Okay, these are two very winnable games. So we've got a lot of garbage time at Detroit, and then we've got two very winnable games where they're gonna want to grind it out with Caleb Johnson. Sounds like he can win either way. I don't love at Baltimore in week 14. I actually don't. I don't like Buffalo week 13. But these three games are interesting. I think this is very interesting because again they're going to be down huge against Detroit, and so they're going to have to basically dump the ball off to him. He's probably going to get some extra catches in that game, and there'll be some low hanging fruit, long runs potentially available to him in that game on turf. And then those two games, Miami and Cleveland, week 15 and week 17, respectively, these are games where you could see Pittsburgh being favored and him being like the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, that's why I think the quarterback at the end of the day, it does matter because of the plus wins you get from the quarterback. Like if they do bring in Rodgers, and I know Rodgers likes to throw from the 1 yard line, which is annoying, but that moves the needle in the number of teams, the games this team's going to be winning. And at the end of the day, rushing is the luxury of the winning team. It truly is. If you really want to have those like monster games where this guy's going to get 25 carries and seal the game, seal the win, I think that you gotta be a winning team. And I know Mike Tomlin, I'm always willing to bet on Mike Tomlin. 8-9 wins is kind of a lock with this guy, regardless of who he has. But I do think if you bring in Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, now you've unlocked a world where these guys have no interest in running the ball themselves. Obviously, could be Cousins, right?
It's like anybody. Could be anybody. I'm very open. I don't like Pittsburgh. I fade Pittsburgh every year, and they shock me. They have a negative point differential and a winning record every year. I mean, this team luck boxes, moves up the standings each and every year. They make the playoffs, and they have no business, and then they get crushed. And it's they shouldn't have been in the playoffs in the first place. So I get run over by the Steelers every year. This is not the year, man. This is the year where I'm like, actually, things could break their way. Their offensive line gets a little bit better. They have a quarterback X come in. I'm open to things being creating an environment where Caleb Johnson can succeed, creating an environment where a guy like Pat Freiermuth, could exceed expectations. Where this is again a value tight end late. Where if I'm drafting 3 tight ends in best ball, I like Freiermuth. There's a couple positions on this team that I like. This doesn't mean I'm suddenly gonna get religion about DK Metcalf.
Right.
No way. I'm not going crazy over this team, but
No.
there's little ways to win on the edges, around the edges in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. And again, you're not going to take Calvin Austin. This team's going to use a lot of, multi-tight end sets. They got Darnell Washington, Donald Parham, Connor Hayward. Like, they are going to pound the rock. There's no doubt about it. So, again, Freiermuth is a guy. I was out once they had Pickens and Metcalf. I was like, how is this going to work? Because too high end, team doesn't pass. But now that Pickens is gone, Freiermuth is back on the menu. Like, that Hunter Henry Freiermuth range, like, you just got to go through and ask yourself, like, can this guy be the top target on the team? Yes or no? Can this guy be a top 2 target on the team? Yes or no? Is this a highly consolidated team that uses the fullback? Yes or no? Those are the 3 questions. And it blows my mind that people are still drafting these guys that are so clearly not answering any of those questions. And it's just like people drafting like guys like Cole Kmet last year. I'm like, what is the path? How many injuries away from upside? And same thing this year with people. Again, now that Pickens is over there, I'm not really drafting any Jake Ferguson.
God, Jake Ferguson. Oh, ugh, gross.
Don't.
No, but career year incoming for Pat Freiermuth. Career year incoming for Pat Freiermuth. You heard it here. And now we got to switch into rapid fire mode. We're getting into the show, but we still have 1 segment to go, rapid fire mode, and we're going to get into it after this. Let's face it, most people that play fantasy, they don't play DFS, they don't play big best ball tournaments. Why? Because it's too complicated and they feel like they can't win. And that's why we developed the FastDraft Flex 4 game. You just draft any 6 guys, the top 4 enter your lineup every week. So if you love Garrett Wilson, you think he's going to outscore Tyreek Hill, or you love Breece Hall, and you think he's going to outscore Devon Achane because you're a big Jets fan, if you're right, you will make money. You don't need to be running big data models. You don't need to be soaked in strategy and understand the schedule forwards and backwards. That's the beauty of Flex 4. Sure, those with great strategy win more money, but those that have strong takes on players can also go out and monetize those positions. And the beauty is it's just $5 a draft, just $5. You can draft 150 times and the winner gets 10 grand. So use your host promo code to get a $50 deposit match. So when you deposit, use that promo code and then you get $50 on me, because Flex 4 is a whole new way to play best ball. The code is ALARM. The code is ALARM. Use ALARM to get that $50 deposit match. Code ALARM. Burning questions for Coop. How many games will Anthony Richardson start this year?
Yeah. I'm by hook or by crook. I think it's 5.
5.
Yeah.
That's
5.
correct. I think I don't think there's any other answer other than 5. I think that's the exact correct answer.
I think Daniel Jones comes in.
Probability that Brock Purdy wins the MVP.
I can only give it 5%. Can only give 5% just because these guys are putting the mobile quarterbacks, the Allens, the Jacksons, the Jaden Daniels, the Hurtses, they're putting up crazy resumes, crazy statistical resumes that Purdy I don't think can get to. It's like same thing like
Purdy
him
runs,
and guys
though.
like,
Purdy ran for 300+ yards.
These guys are running for double-digit touchdowns, dude. Lamar Jackson's over-under for yardage is 775 rushing.
God, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's got to throw 50 touchdown passes. If you're a quarterback like Goff, Stafford, I mean Stafford 1 year threw 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. He didn't win MVP. Like you got to be if you're not going to run a ton, you got to be a sicko, or you got to win 16 games. They go 16-1. And he throws 40 touchdown passes, he'll be MVP. That's the 5%.
Purdy is going to have an awesome year.
I agree.
I just want people to be ready because I want to make sure that I'm on record saying it very simply and succinctly. Purdy is going to be awesome.
I'm the highest I've ever been on George Kittle. Highest I've ever been on George Kittle. I have him 3.
Oh, God. Kittle, everyone. We talked about this. I mean, we opened the show with this. But I just wanted to make sure we also give the cap tip that's deserved to one Mr. Brock Purdy. My goodness.
Rich man.
I mean, this guy, Mr. Irrelevant, and all he does is elevate this team. And he saved them. They had Trey Lance. They were staring into the abyss. And he came from nowhere. He stepped out of the darkness and was like, I can do this at a very, very high level. I mean, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but there are Brady-like chills that I get with this kid.
I mean, that's the thing. He's been denied the same way Brady has the entire time. And now this is the final year where we find out for sure, because they called Brady a system QB for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when Brady got paid and they had to say bye-bye to Richard Seymour and Dante Stallworth, all these guys, like once they made those moves, he still kept winning. And when now they've had to pay Purdy and they've let guys go, Deebo Samuel's traded. When he keeps winning, now no one's going to have anything to say. He's got to win a Super Bowl though before we
bottom 10 defense takes them to the playoffs. That's the case for Purdy at MVP. He's not going to win, but there's going to be a case. There's going to be a case. How many games will Tyler Shuck start this year?
17. I'll stop short of saying that Kellen Moore takes this team to the playoffs and he plays like 18, 19 games. But I think this guy's going to start. I think he's going to start, and we saw Jay Kaner, we saw Spencer Rattler. Not impressed. Good. And I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I think he's going to start all the games.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Shuck at the 1-2 turn in the FastDraft Origins all rookie game, it's the cheat code. Right. As soon as these like super stud running backs that we know we're going to get all the touches, like Caleb Johnson, even though you say he's not. Like, for example, I would rather. I mean, you think this is hot? FastDraft Origins, the all rookie game. If it were me, I mean, I can't draft, but if I could, I would be taking Shuck over Judkins.
Yeah,
that's not that crazy.
Now that Derek Carr is retired, it wasn't a move I was doing. Now it is. And I'll be honest, I don't really love, like, people take Jackson Dart over him. People take Jackson Dart over him in underdog.
What?
I don't know if, yes, dude, he's an underdog. You can get Tyler Shuck the last round. That's why I said earlier on the show, I was like, there are quarterbacks you can take in the last round that could start 17 games in their last round. When people are taking like the wide receiver 5 for some of these, people are taking like Adonai Mitchell. And I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Like, you could take a quarterback that can start every game. I mean, and you just got to get it right. If Tyler Shuck, Russell Wilson, I mean, maybe Russell Wilson gets benched and Jameis Winston gets benched and then Jackson Dart comes alive at playoff time. I mean, that's what people are betting on, though, because they're taking him over Tyler Shuck. And I think that people aren't realizing that, like, of all the positions, the one where opportunity matters the most is quarterback, because it's a pure linear depth chart. There is no rotation. There's no, besides Taysom Hill, there's no like, you take these snaps, I'll take these snaps. It's a singular linear depth chart where you play 1,000 snaps if you get the job. So that's why it's so much leverage at those last rounds.
Could be the best backdoor double stack of all time in best ball. We could be looking at the best Olave, Shaheed, Shuck. Could be the best backdoor double stack in the history of best ball. That's what we're looking at, because we have a second-round quarterback who everyone is doubting, and we have a wide receiver whose career was in doubt. We have another receiver in Shaheed who is a free agent, a UDFA who's coming off of injury as well. So we have all these weapons coming off of injury. We have a quarterback who's about to turn 30. Like the first 30-year-old rookie. This is like a Disney movie, right? So we have the oldest rookie quarterback since Brandon Weeden coming in, throwing to a bunch of injured receivers on one of the worst teams in the league. Of course, no one wants that. There's just a stench around this. But this is how the best value backdoor stack in the history of best ball, it's how you get there.
Yeah, this is such an irrelevant stat, but I'll throw it at you. I looked at the highest scoring second round pick quarterbacks for the last like 25 years. Drew Brees played for the Saints. Derek Carr played for the Saints. Andy Dalton played for the Saints.
Stop.
So second round quarterbacks in the Saints, dude, goes like peas and carrots, baby. There's no correlation at all. It's just weird if it happens again.
The chat is making an interesting comment. People are giving like Brock Purdy, just
I love the
gloating.
comment by GXRP in the chat. Better chance Bo Nix gets MVP than Brock Purdy. Go look at Bo Nix's stats last year.
Oh, come on.
What was the difference between what Bo Nix did and what Josh Allen did? The only difference was rushing touchdowns. I mean, they had the same number of passing yards. They had Bo Nix threw more touchdown passes than Josh Allen did. The difference was rushing touchdowns. That was the difference.
So you're there with that. You believe that. You think that Bo Nix is a better chance than Purdy.
The difference for MVP is, that the win totals, because the voters care about wins. So when the Bills are expected to win 11.5 games and the Broncos are expected to win 9.5, Patriots are expected to win 8.5 if you look at the sports books. So that's where you have to lean into the odds. Like, you need to have the stats, you need to have the wins. So that's the difference between someone like Nix and Josh Allen, who was the MVP. But Purdy, like, he needs to have the wins, and the stats have to be from passing. With Bo Nix, if he throws for 4,000 yards and has 10 rushing touchdowns, and the team wins and they win the division somehow, I mean, it's possible. That's why. Yeah, there it is.
True. That's true. I hate it. But you're right. I hate it. I mean, I like Nix too. It's not like I don't like Bo Nix. I just happen to really, really love Brock Purdy.
Right.
But I love the war stories in the chat. Category. I love people talking about how much they love watching Brock Purdy in person, that he is actually a sneaky, really fun player to watch, and talking about how Purdy helped take them into the playoffs. There's just just reminiscing about Purdy. I enjoy that a lot, and we're going to be treated to even more this year. Just get ready for it. But I agree. I like the Bo Nix call. If you have Bo Nix and Brock Purdy in a Superflex Dynasty League, you're in great shape.
Feeling good.
You're feeling really good. Like I have a Purdy Drake May team. Feels really good.
Yeah.
That feels really good.
Drake May, again, on a per game basis, pretty similar numbers to Bo Nix. In fact, on only 52 carries, he had virtually the same rushing yards as Bo Nix had on 92. Like, 430 yards at first 421. So, I mean, that's the best value, I think, on the board.
We're going to be looking back at that quarterback class from last year and just marveling at it for years to come.
It's a beauty, isn't it?
Okay, so we're looking at the Saints ADPs, and there's some incredible values there. In fact, they don't even make sense. Like, there's just it doesn't add up to enough points, fantasy points scored, to even make a whole offense. Right? There's like a gap of fantasy points missing if you just look at the ADPs of Saints players. The opposite is the case with the Buccaneers. So last year, the math did not add up. If you added up all the ADP of all the Texans receivers, including the tight end, the running back, and everything, I mean, they would have had to score 17,000 points, right? C.J. Stroud had to throw for 6,000 yards for those wide receiver ADPs to make any fucking sense.
2013 Peyton Manning. That's what people thought was going to happen.
It was silliness. It was just absolute silliness. And we're seeing that this year with the Bucs offense, where you have the Godwin ADP and the Igbuka ADP and the McMillan ADP and the Evans ADP, Cliff, you're coming, and you have the Bucky Irving ADP. It's like, okay, I guess. Wow, that happened quick. Life comes at you fast. Where we're now Baker Mayfield is Josh Allen. Okay, I guess. Or Baker Mayfield is now Peyton Manning. Okay.
Yeah. The worst ADP on the entire underdog board is Jalen McMillan. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make, like, what is the plan for Jalen? How is Jalen McMillan going to be worth drafting at all? Like, they have Evans, they have Godwin. Godwin's expected back by week 1 from the ankle. They drafted another Godwin in Emeka Egbuka. Like, what is the path for Jalen McMillan? 2 guys get hurt? Because that happened.
But also, that happened. This offense has to be top 10 also
in every category. So I just, the people picking Jalen McMillan, I gotta hear why, because he gets picked in every underdog draft. So, but I've never heard anyone explain why.
It's the mystery bidder.
Sharp,
It's the guy on the phone at the auction, and no one knows who the hell this is that keeps bidding this guy. Who are these mystery bidders on McMillan? What did they see in him? It's not like he was like making incredible plays last year. He was just the guy that was there.
Yeah. Now, real quick, so chat is like Baker's the man. I will say, Matt, I watched that video you told me to watch. The Gus Swayze Baker.
The Gus Swayze Baker Mayfield, yeah, when he's undercover.
Incredible. Okay, so even though we're going to bash him and his weapons now, you got to give him credit for that.
He's going to be good. He's going to be very good. He's going to be an above-average NFL quarterback this year, which is what he is. He's not going to be top 5. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez,
the path
guys.
I will say I will continue to draft Chris Godwin.
Why not?
I will draft Godwin. That's the one. That's the one that I will draft.
I think Igbuka is quietly reasonable. Just based on the fact that he's going late enough.
I don't know. In underdog, he goes so high. On fast draft origins, I like him because you're just drafting talented players, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just drafting the talent and hoping they find a way. On underdog, man, he goes high.
Where's he going on underdog? Maybe I'm misguided on where he's going exactly. Is he going 8th round?
He goes inside the top 100. He goes right around guys like Cooper Kupp and Josh Downs. Like I just can't take him ahead of like Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman's the guy that I like. Yeah. So I just can't take him where he's going. That's the problem.
The upside case for him is interesting. I think there is an upside case for him if this, but this is where I could dabble. Maybe, like I said, I don't think there's a world where you ever need to draft Mike Evans at his ADP. I don't think he can burn you. I think it's possible. Maybe that. I just don't think at this age, Mike Evans is in a position where he can be the reason. I think we saw it a couple of years ago where he was the reason people won championships. He was actually really bad that year, but he finished with a flourish in the last couple of weeks of the season. And he won people millions of dollars in best ball. But now he's going to be 32, and I think that was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. That was 2022. In 2022, he wasn't great. He wasn't a top 12 fantasy option in fantasy points per game, but his final few weeks were pretty incredible. So let's look this up in the game log. I want to check this out. So if we look Mike Evans put up 48.7 points in week 17 against Carolina and won people all the money on underdog. The week before he had 5.9 points, 13.3, 8.4, 9.9, 5.1. So he was killing you all year. You sneak him in, you somehow get to the final game with him, and he takes everything home. He had 239 air yards in that game. Look at the air yards last year. When I talk about a cliff year, he goes from 1,700 air yards to 1,900 air yards in 2023. Only 1,274 air yards. That was easily his worst air yard performance of his career. In 2024. He barely cracked 1,000 yards. He only played 14 games, I get it. But he had 1,004 receiving yards. The yards per reception was way down. The air yards were way down. But he had double-digit touchdowns, and that's what saved him. So I just don't see him being the guy that burns you. There's a lot of other options at ADP in his zone, which are more exciting, like a Garrett Wilson, and that's the direction I'm going.
Yeah, well, the thing is that every time I'm on the clock when I'm considering Mike Evans, Devontae Adams is there, and it's just like Devontae Adams, JSN. Even honestly, I look at Devonta Smith and I'm like, do I want to, if we're going to have a highly consolidated top 2 wide receivers, do I want to go Evans or Devonta Smith? And they just, because those guys are there, it's just hard to click the button. So I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, I think that you could maybe just dabble at the very lowest exposure on Evans.
Yeah.
That's what I'm lowest exposure.
You have to have a little bit of
low exposure on Godwin, but of all those guys, I think you can also safely not ever draft Bucky Irving. not ever draft McMillan. I just can't. I can't. It's one thing to like get some exposure on guys because you know that they could have a huge touchdown year just based on variance with a Mike Evans. I get it. But in the second round,
Yeah.
there are so many huge upside, incredible splash play specialists available that to go Bucky Irving, it's not. Oh God, I think it's fine. I think it's fine just to say no, thank you.
I just wish
I'll
he was a
never
little.
do it.
Again, it's the ADP that's the problem because he was an RB13 last year, but like I just can't draft him ahead of guys like Brees Hall.
Or Chase
I just can't
Brown.
do him. Yeah,
Chase
right.
Brown could absolutely rip your face off this year.
Mm-hmm.
If things break Chase Brown's way,
He can score 20
rips your
touchdowns.
face off. If someone anywhere said green light to go 0% Chase Brown in best ball, never listen to them again. That is very, very dangerous. You could get killed doing that. You could even get killed doing that, like with James Cook. I want a little bit of James Cook. It's a dangerous situation to fade James Cook.
He scored 18 touchdowns. You look at the teams, right? And the thing is, we've seen worse backs and good offenses do this. I watched LeGarrette Blount score 18 touchdowns. Yeah. I watched Jamal Williams score 18. I watched Raheem Mostert score like 21 touchdowns or whatever it was. Like, just great, right? Like, it can absolutely happen in the right situation, and the Bengals are the right situation. And you have to respect that by getting a couple shares. Because what I'm doing in my early rounds is I have all my sleeper picks. I'm trying to get enough configurations of good values early and then win with my sleepers. I'm going to have a little Chase Brown and Mike Evans just to protect myself, just like I think you should mix in some Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes,
just to protect
that's
yourself.
True. Yes,
right?
I could just absolutely be wrong about Marvin Harrison Jr. And they end up targeting him with higher percentage plays. And
in those elite
him
rounds,
in a way that they were not able to do last year. It makes perfect sense that could happen, even though we haven't seen it. So because that outcome is available, you have to dabble on a player like that. You have to make sure you're locking in like that 4%,
right?
In best ball. Chase Brown, I'm not saying make sure you lock in your 4%. I mean, I want to be overweight on him.
For sure. Yeah.
I want to be overweight on him, but you cannot go below 4% on Chase Brown. You're asking for trouble. That is such a dangerous,
exactly.
That's just a cavalier, terrible move.
Well, the argument there for me is that I am drafting if you're going to say 4% is your number, I'm drafting 4% Bucky Irving just because if I'm going to max out Best Ball Mania and I'm doing 150 entries at $25 a pop, any one of those guys in the first 3 rounds can potentially be the guy. And I just want to make sure that if I'm going to get one team through and get my $3,000 back, because that's the minimum. If you make it to the last day, you get $3,000, and it costs $3,000 to max this game out. You got to have just a little bit of those guys, just in case you were completely wrong, and that's your refund. That's the way I look at all those guys in the first 3 rounds, first 2 rounds, honestly, first 2 rounds. Once I get to round 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. That's where I get into the range where I will have 0% exposure to some of those guys, but I just can't sit back. Like last year, I would have had more teams get through last year if I had a little more Derrick Henry, right? Like I just didn't. He was the RB1 through like 12 weeks. Like he was an important player. I had a lot of Josh Jacobs, which is why those.
You know what
teams
you're doing, right? You're somehow in the same breath comparing Bucky Irving to Derrick Henry, and again, you're right. Same ADP. Derrick Henry's ADP in 2024 is the same as the Bucky Irving 2025 ADP, which is just so insane. It's why it's a fun debate. When does an ADP become so insane that you can justify a complete fade?
The schedule for the end of season schedule for this team is Rams, Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, I guess I got to get some Bucky Irving.
Just a
son of a bitch.
The thing is, you just the minimum.
Son of a bitch. All right, minimum. You win.
Yeah. The bare minimum. That's all we're doing. And there will be times. Yeah, there will be times I've seen. Usually the first and second round are chalky enough that there's no complete fades. In the third round, there will be guys that I fade.
Oh man, It hurts me to say. It hurts me to admit this. Fine.
That's a best ball thing, though. You don't have to draft him in redraft, but
No,
I
I know
think a
you're not
best
drafting him in
ball.
redraft. I'm just saying, yeah, the bare minimum best ball exposure. Does he reach that threshold, or can it be a full fade? And we're saying you got to get a little bit of Bucky, unfortunately, just based on that schedule alone. God damn it!
It's like wearing your seatbelt or like having car insurance.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about,
But as a player, like he's no like A-Chain. He's not that level of talent. That's
right?
what that's
And
the
even
thing,
A-Chain
man.
is
That's what
scary.
really just
A-Chain's scary
burns
too.
me.
I know.
Urgh.
It bothers me. Kyron Williams bothers me in the same way because he checks none of the boxes, but he's a good football player. Like when I watch the game, it's good. But then I look at the player-on-player profile and I'm like, this guy's not.
Got to
checking
get a
any
little
boxes.
bit of Kyron too. Damn it!
I know.
It's true.
You have to.
You have to.
He's not
What
big.
about
He's
Kansas
not
City,
fast.
man? We talked about Kansas City earlier. This is a team that's going to be running a lot of 12 personnel. There's a lot of uncertainty around how the football is going to be distributed in the backfield and in the passing game. There's a lot of question marks. It could go either way here.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of these guys, Pacheco could go either way. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, a lot of these guys, we don't know how it's going to go.
So a guy that I have next to no exposure to, I actually think I might have 0% exposure right now, is Xavier Worthy. It's just not a guy that I trust. He got his opportunity. I know he was a rookie last year, but Rashee Rice was awesome. Rashee Rice through the first 3 weeks before he got hurt was the best value over ADP. I mean, it was only 3 week sample size, but statistically speaking, he was like the best value pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Worthy came in. He was supposed to be this field stretcher that was ripping off big plays and doing all these big things. He didn't do any of that. Like he didn't have a 100-yard game at any point. I guess in the Super Bowl, once the game was out of hand, he got a bunch of junk. But like what? I mean, I don't know if Xavier Worthy's going to really pop that way. I'm drafting. Here's what I'm doing. I'm drafting Rashee Rice if he slides. I'm taking Travis Kelce while he goes outside the top 100 players. He will soon creep into the top 100 and no longer be a great value. But until that happens, I'm picking him. I mean, he caught 97 passes last year. What the heck are people talking about? And he didn't even play the last game of the season. He had more receptions per game last year than Justin Jefferson. That's a fact. That's a statistical fact. So for me, I'm drafting that guy. I will also very, very late draft a little Rashee Rice handcuff play in Jalen Royals. I think they do very similar things. I think that the process they used to draft Rashee Rice, they looked at this guy and they said, this guy is being used wrong in college. They're putting him on one side of the field for every snap. They're throwing him jump balls. It's junk. We're gonna take this guy and change the way we use him. Jalen Royals also blew up for crazy plays in college. And I look at it and I'm like, if Rashee Rice gets hurt, if he comes back and he's not healthy, if he gets suspended at the right time, I think this guy is going to play that role. I think that they drafted this guy to be insurance for that player. So very late, like last pick type thing. If I'm already loaded up at quarterback and tight end, I will take Jalen Royals. And that's how I'm handling those guys.
It's a great
I'm not really
answer.
drafting Marquise Brown either, man. I don't know.
Brashard Smith.
Know. See, now you're talking. Like this is where we don't know. Even honestly, the more I think about it, Elijah Mitchell is the highest paid back on that team. So I've told myself to get more Elijah Mitchell, and I haven't done it. That's what's so hard about these drafts. I'm like 15 drafts in, and I don't think I have like a sticky note here that says, hey, get a little Elijah Mitchell. I haven't done it. He's the highest paid back on the team. Possibility that he comes in, he's just Kareem Hunt is washed, and Pacheco. I mean, Pacheco did not look right when he got back. He didn't. And it was from a broken bone, which usually you recover fully from that. I think he might have.
Yeah, but we talked about this earlier. The leg atrophied. I would give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give Pacheco the benefit. I want some Pacheco. I like Pacheco this year.
Pacheco for sure. I mean, the guy runs so hard. Pacheco's one of the few players when I watch the game and he runs up the gut and hits somebody, it makes me like squeamish at times. Like he hits that hole so hard and the sound is like, gah! I'm just like, dude, he's as Pat Fitzmaurice likes to say, he runs like he's trying to run through a closed door. Like that guy is aggressive, but I mean, that style of play at that size is not good for your health.
True. What about Devin Neal late?
Nah.
No.
I'm you and I are on different pages with this because I love Alvin Kamara. I think
Okay, so
Alvin
you think
Kamara.
Alvin Kamara is he's a good pick this year?
I am the only problem with Alvin. The only problem I run into with Alvin Kamara is he has the same ADP as other guys I like, Kenneth Walker and Kubiak Scheme and RJR.
Yeah.
But I think Kamara is a great pick. Last year, Kamara came out and he was again RB1 through 6 weeks, RB2 through 12 weeks. The wheels fell off that team as soon as Eric McCoy got hurt in week 3, and then guys, everybody else got hurt. Olave, Shaheed, Derek Carr, Taysom Hill, like the wheels fell off. But I just look at Kellen Moore. I don't think there's any world where Kellen Moore looks at this team and says anyone on that team is better at any given thing than Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is better at every part of the game of football than any other player on that team. Kendry Miller, Devin Neal.
I agree with that. I agree. I just think the best play is to go with the receiving options. I know he's a receiving option. I know he is, but I don't like investing in players on bad teams, in the top 50. Like I don't want any Devon Achane. Like I know that's going to be a bad team. And that's, again, the case you can make for Bucky Irving is, well, that team could be very good. Right. And they could be rolling at the end of the season, and you got to have some Bucky Irving, and I'm like, that's fair. But you can't make that argument for the Dolphins. You can't make that argument for the Saints. The way to play the Saints is to invest in the shootouts and the garbage time, and that's Shaheed and that's Olave more than it is Kamara.
Yeah, but Kamara also, the thing is, those dump downs, man. The targets are king. And that's why this guy, regardless, year after year after year, he never has had 1,000 rushing yards, but he's one of 4 players in the league right now that has averaged 100 yards from scrimmage for his career. It's him, it's Saquon Barkley, it's Jonathan Taylor, and it's Derrick Henry.
He's very good. And you like him better than Aaron Jones.
Yes. Oh, yes. I have he is my he's my second highest exposure running back right now.
Oh, okay.
Kenneth Walker and Alvin Kamara.
I prefer Kenneth Walker. If it's me, I'm taking Kenneth Walker there.
I'm taking Kenneth Walker first. That's why I don't have as much. Right, so what I do is I reach a little on Kenneth Walker, and then Kamara comes back to me. Or like this draft I just did at the double tap, or it's a slow draft. I don't know why I keep getting in these slow drafts. They drive me nuts, brother.
Well, there should be a platform that's only fast drafting.
That's where I should be drafting. But listen to this squad. All right. So I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, and Devonta Smith. Pretty good 3 wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
Not bad. My running backs, though, are Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, and Alvin Kamara. Because of how affordable Walker and Kamara are, I got them at pick 60, 61 back to back after I used my first 3 picks on wide receivers. I used my first 3 picks on wide receivers, and I got Breece Hall, Walker, Kamara. It's like you build a couple teams like that, and it's just easier to sleep at night. Just knowing that you did it, you got it done, and then I'm gonna try a few different things.
This is definitely a 3 tight end build.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing is I did the same thing in a different draft, and then where I took 6 players first, and then I took Mahomes, Kelsey, which both are still available right now. At the next turn, I could go Kelsey, Mahomes. And it's little moves like that, and now all of a sudden it's a 2 quarterback, 2 tight end build. There's ways around it. There's ways. I love that. I love best ball season, bro. It is like you turn into like a science.
I'm not saying Kelsey's the same player. He's clearly a degraded version, but not that far degraded. Mahomes is the same guy. And these were players that were going many, many, many rounds earlier, back to back in previous years. So for that reason alone, you gotta love it.
The team was so good that they didn't have to play the last game of the season. If they did, he would have caught 100 balls. He caught 97 passes. Then we would be sitting here saying, "Oh, I don't like that guy. He only caught 100 passes last year." Like, what are we doing, dude?
These tight ends, they produce at a high level, and then it's over. They Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, they produce and produce. Tony Gonzalez goes to Atlanta, and he just keeps on going. No slide, no fall off.
This is how crazy Tony Gonzalez is. If you take the Travis Kelce's fantasy points per game for his whole career, which is a lot, he would need to play one more season to catch guys like Jason Witten and Antonio Gates, he would need to play 3 full more seasons at his career average to catch Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez has
Stud.
so many career fantasy points.
Stud.
It is nuts, dude.
Consistency, though, that's the thing. You're getting the consistency, and you're also getting spike weeks with touchdowns, right? So
that's all you need at the tight end position, especially if it's stacked with your quarterback. Like your quarterback throws 3 touchdown passes and 1 goes to the tight ends, you're in the money.
Start drafting tight end at Travis Kelce. I think that's good advice.
Kelce,
who goes earlier, Kelce or Njoku?
Kelce does. Njoku's a good deal. He's a great deal.
Oh my God, yeah, Kelce, Njoku's
going after the rookie. Njoku's going after the rookie tight ends now, which I'm like, great.
Doesn't make any sense.
I want
Jatavian Sanders.
If we can get these rookie tight ends steamed up, maybe we should start putting out fake stuff and see if we can get, because they're going together and they've already gone ahead of. Now they're up past Njoku and Kraft. They're getting right up there where Engram and Andrews and Kelce are. I just want to keep going up and up on those guys so that I can get better deals on these guys that are literally the top target on their team.
Yeah, Kelce and Njoku, that is the best 2 tight end build that exists.
It's not even hard. We're talking pick 100 for Kelce and pick 130 for Njoku. It's 130 for Njoku, which means you can take literally 10 players and then take David Njoku.
Who's your favorite handcuff running back?
If I had to pick just one right now that I'm taking a lot, it's DJ Giddens. DJ Giddens.
Good. Wow, that's a great answer.
Because
I'm just glad you didn't say Charbonnet. He's a fake handcuff now.
Well, he's too expensive. If I'm looking for a value, and again, even guys like Tyler Algier, like fine, but he's expensive. No, I don't think anybody's really thinking about what happens if Jonathan Taylor gets hurt.
Giddens, baby.
Giddens, right?
And we talked about only 5 games for Richardson. Then it's going to be the Daniel Jones show.
And he's also just a mystery box, right? Because I know who Charbonnet is. I know who Algier is. It's good, but like, what if Giddens is just really good? You know. And Jonathan Taylor, I know he had like the holdout or whatever, but he's missed time. This is a guy that has missed time. He started off his career never missing time ever. He never missed games in college, never missed games in high school. As of late, he's been missing time. So I do like it. What about you? I know you drafted a lot of Jaden Blue, but that doesn't really count because he
we mentioned. I mean, I'm ride or die with Roshan. That's an easy one.
Good.
Yeah,
he's a handcuff plus though, because he could have standalone value. I don't think.
Giddens has much guess. I guess. Giddens, the same thing with Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue, handcuff plus. These are the guys I really want. You know, in terms of, Giddens is a great option. I'd like to see in preseason. I really want to get a look at and follow the news reports closely on Trey Benson, and see if this is going to happen or not. I got to get you out of here, man. I got to get you out of here.
Oh, yeah. Dude, where does the time go on these shows? I told you I blocked off 3 hours because
I can't believe it.
We're supposed to start at noon.
I can't believe it.
Right? So I correctly was like, okay, you never know where these go. So
last year you gave us Stone Smart. Now he's on the Jets. He could be a thing on the Jets. I mean, it's a low bar for Stone Smart. Give us another Stone Smart. Who's the Stone Smart for you this year?
I mean, I already threw Noah Fant at you, dude.
I know. We're talking about a guy who I've never heard of. Noah Fant was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Is there a guy that's very fringe, a fringe tight end that for Dynasty in particular that would be interesting?
I mean, so there's if we're getting into super deep names, I mean, one guy that's not that deep that you've definitely heard of. I am interested in Oronde Gadsden. I'm keeping an eye on Oronde Gadsden.
Oronde Gadsden's no, this is a good one. Well, no, he's pretty deep because he was a pretty clear day 3 pick.
Right. Pretty clear day 3, like way back there. But, Greg Roman has orchestrated a top 5 all-time tight end season. And in that season, his tight end, Mark Andrews, played 85% of his snaps. He ran 85% of his routes from a wide receiver alignment, right? This guy, Oronde Gadsden, 17 contested catches, which was more than it led all the guys from this class, more than Tyler Warren. again, he was playing at Syracuse. That's the knock, but it's the same thing as Harold Fannin. Like if anyone that likes Harold Fannin should like Oronde Gadsden because they go hand in hand. They played at lower competition, but they dominated where they did. Like, go watch the highlights.
Well, Gaston played at Syracuse and had 900 plus yards in 2 seasons, and then was out all of 2023, and he doesn't have David Njoku to compete with.
Right. He's competing with Tyler Conklin and Will Disley. And again, this is it's a situation where, like, he's a convert. Like, once we get outside the top range, we start looking for players that have an excuse why they didn't excel. I want convert, like Stone Smart was a quarterback and then they switched him and now he's learning the position. Just like Logan Thomas was a quarterback and they switched him. Darren Waller was a wide receiver. Juwan Johnson was a wide receiver. This guy, Oronde Gadsden, his father was an NFL wide receiver. So he was brought up to play wide receiver. And it turned out that he just doesn't have, he doesn't have like the speed, but he's big. They did too good a job feeding this guy. So he ended up being like 6'5", 240. So he converted to tight end, which is what you do. So not only did he do all that, but he did it learning a position, which that tells us there's still ceiling there. Elijah Higgins behind as a handcuff to Trey McBride is something else I'm interested in, right? Like guys like that, like where they're not going to ever be asked to block. They're just, if they're going to be out there, they're going to be out there to catch the ball. That's Gadsden. That's Higgins. That's the kind of guys we're looking for.
I like Gadsden a lot, man. If they like super flex, tight end premium, these FFPC formats,
20 rounds. I have them ranked
in these rookie drafts. That's my favorite format to grab Gadsden.
Yeah. What if they just put him in that? What if they get him out there, big slot? Greg Roman has the plays.
Why not?
Right. Greg Roman has the plays they're in the playbook. They might be a little dusty because last year they only had Will Disley. Dust them off and let's see some big slot around the Gadsden.
All right. Last question. Bold prediction. Got anything big, bold, hairy that you want to share with us?
I'll hit you with a bold one. There's a wide receiver, and again, people don't like this take, which is why I love sharing it. There's a wide receiver on Underdog going wide receiver 54 off the board. And I think this guy has the best chance of anybody outside the top wide receiver 30 range to finish as a wide receiver 1. That's Mr. Michael Pittman. A guy that can play 100% of the snaps when healthy. His back is healthy. We've seen him have years of 140 and 150 targets, right? He could easily just be the best pass catcher on the team for Daniel Jones when he gets that gig, or maybe Anthony Richardson takes a step forward. But when I get down to those parts of the draft and I ask myself, hey, are there any wide receiver 1s left on their own team that have wide receiver 1 upside in fantasy football? That's Michael Pittman. And I think he could finish as a wide receiver 1 in 2025.
Or Josh Downs.
Also a good player. But he's a part-time player. He plays 75% of the snaps and then takes a little lap when it gets down to touchdown time. So I like Downs. That's another one. I would love for him to play full-time, but they love Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is terrible. Alec Pierce needs to go away.
One thing I will say about Michael Pittman, and I think this does correlate to fantasy production, Michael Pittman is incredibly handsome.
Fact. Nothing more to be said, dude.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.